All right, so we're live. Tim's running a little bit late, so he'll join us in a little bit. But we'll go through some general news stories before we get to the juicy part where I attempt to blow Chris and Tim's minds, see if I'm crazy or if I'm going down a rabbit hole. A couple stories came out that I've been reading in the internet. Uh, More importantly, some of the things in the world that are going down with the video game industry. Last week we talked about it for a little bit, but we're gonna touch on it a little bit more because it did not get better. But Tim will join us when he gets here. But other than that, I do have Chris with us. How we doing tonight, Chris?
I'm good.
Mm. Go. Well, we'll get there. Uh, what are you playing? It's not Final Fantasy VII, I'm assuming.
No, uh, I did hear about it though. I have one friend that beat it already, so I did hear a lot about it.
Okay.
Um,
I have not
but
beaten it
yeah,
or finished it
yeah,
yet.
I know it's a long game though. So,
Oh
and
my
he
god.
plays he plays he plays a lot.
I've got like 56 hours, and I think I'm in. I just got to chapter 9 or 10. Um, I think I got to 9. But I mean, I did it a little differently. So for the stream, I didn't do a face cam and I didn't do any commentary. It's just the game as it is. I didn't try and speed run anything. I explored it and I played it how I normally do. Uh, I've been enjoying it tremendously. Um, I was gonna do a bit where I came on here and tried to roast it, but I'm too tired for that. the the game's awesome. uh, every second of it I've enjoyed. Um, I've enjoyed the stupid tweets people had about it that popped up in my feed from time to time. I've thrown a couple up there as well about Red 13 and Inaki, because he gets to ride a horse, he gets to climb up ladders, he swims incredible. It's just everything about it. Like they did things I didn't think they were gonna do. Because it's now full fledged 3D. All the characters are visible on the map at all times. So they did some really cool things about it. Um,
Yeah, I got to see Gold Saucer and I saw Nibelheim, um, and then last night he was explaining to me the ending, and so
so
I'm not gonna say anything until you beat
yeah,
it.
I think I'm probably pretty close to the ending. I'm probably in my estimate of where I believe they're probably going to end it. I'm getting close. Simply fact, if they go as far as I think they're gonna, or like if they go further, uh, it would be this game would be way too long. This game would be like 150 hours.
Well, I was gonna say that I my friend's name is Ian, and
Hmm.
I think he just did like side stuff that was like on the way. I think
Yeah,
you've probably gone more out of the way than he has. So
I've finished every single zone 100%.
yeah,
I've gotten all the chests, like I've done every little side thing, all the side missions.
yeah,
Queen's Blood I played a lot of, which has been a lot of fun. It's a nice break
hmm
to it. They added so much content in between, and then the changes that they've done have been majorly impactful, well warranted, and then fit the story very well. Um, I think I got to the first kind of major plot twist in chapter 8/9, where you're seeing the first really big divergence, and it's also pretty much the first time that the whispers show up in the game. You go through the first portion of the game, and I just kept thinking like, man, they haven't shown up at all. So did he just move away from using them? Because people took offense, but then he leaned back heavily.
now they're back.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he brought him back and forth. I'm still
yeah.
down for the ride. Um, the chocobos are incredible. The world is beautiful. Combat is incredibly fluid and fun. Each character is super unique. I mean, even Kate Sith is he's a gas.
It makes you a little surprised that this effort wasn't, obviously this is the project, and there's a lot of love for this, but this effort was not put into 16.
Yeah,
To me, from a bird's eye view, because I'm gonna play both of them, but um, I won't go as far as to say that 16 should have been like exactly this, but it should have been close to this because that's their mainline thing.
no, 16 should have been this, 100%. The
Okay.
fact that my cat's having a temptation. The fact that it's not is just proof to me that 15, 16 were just bastardized versions of the game that were just assets that they rolled into a new project because they weren't fleshed out. They felt like they were missing sections. I mean, everything was put into this game, 100%.
Yeah. Uh huh.
Because
And it should be for a mainline.
yeah, for as big as this game is, there's no way that for the amount of content they did, they developed it flat out like they said that like they tried to claim that they did. Um, they 100% rolled everything into 7 and went all in on it, which I'm fine
Hmm.
with because it's a superior product to both of those games by massive strides. You know, this if we were gonna coin something a quadruple A title, this would be a game that gets that coin.
Hmm.
Quality, length, development, um, the fact that they're not trying to charge me $9,000 extra for every 2 seconds of game. You're about to get beat, kitty. Um, yeah, like that's what I expect when I hear the term, quadruple A or triple A at that effect, right? Um,
Yeah, and 16 is, like I
Not
said,
that, yeah.
it's a mainline. It's like a Mario, it's like a Halo, it's like a, it's their identity.
Well,
Really.
I'll explain it the best way I can. 16 has the same thing that 15 has, and it's a systemic problem. It's not just with Final Fantasy; it's with the industry as a whole, and it's with RPGs in particular. Um, it's a hallway simulator. You go into a room and you just run down a hallway, run into guys, kill them, keep going down the hallway. Right? You're just on this track, and it's just in 15 it's hyper apparent. In
Yeah.
in 16 they try to hide it a little bit. There's no world map. The zones are small. It's just like a small little section with a group of monsters. Go to the next section, group of monsters, right? It's not like this. This game is just flush with content, with wildlife. Um it's just like I spent a ton of time exploring, going to different vantage points, like going to look around, can I see Midgar? Can I see Nibelheim? When we got to the swamp, I kept on going up and looking down to see if I could see. Get down. I don't know why you're being a brat tonight. Oh my god, this cat.
Look at that.
I know, she's on something. If you're gonna lay down, you can stay up here. Are you gonna lay down? Jesus. Um, it's storming out here, so she's like a little bit antsy.
Hmm.
But yeah, so it's like you could make the same contextual statement that this is a hallway simulator. The only difference is this hallway is a zone that to go from one side to the other running takes you like 10 or 15 minutes. Maybe if I just did it straight through, you could get there in like 5 or 6. But even then, it has distance to it. And then there's just things to look around. And then yeah, they did the video game ploy, right, where there's towers you can climb. That's
I
sort
did
of
see that. I
yeah,
made a joke on that,
yeah.
and I know that's just a modern game design thing. Yeah.
Right, yeah. It's just vantage points, which is like I don't know. What was the first game that did that? Maybe Assassin's Creed.
To me, it's Far Cry 3 when I first remembered it.
Yeah, it's one of the two. It's Assassin's Creed or it's Far Cry 3, but they're by the same company, so
Yeah.
it would make sense either way. But yeah, so
Yeah.
like that's their. And then kill a group of monsters, kill a named monster, find some lore about the summon, then fight the summon to get a. I mean, there's very formulaic versions of the game, but I think that's just, I don't care what game you're playing. It's gonna have aspects of that where it's part of it, and that's just how a video game is, right? It's a checklist usually, and it's
But
how well do you hide the checklist?
in the past, you would have a pre-rendered background, and then you'd have a scene happen, right?
Yeah.
And you'd be able to. Each scene would be more. I think it felt more like a play, right? You go see a play, and this is Act One, Scene Two, right?
Mm-hmm.
Each area was, and it had that kind of feel. And when games became 3D and open like this, it has a different feel. And I'll leave it at that. I kind of like I kind of like the theatrical kind of feeling of the older games.
Mm-hmm.
I guess because things are more controlled, maybe.
Yeah. I think you can tell a more targeted story. I think it's part of the thing that's happened with the industry is it feels like the story has gotten away, or narrative has gotten away and become a sub character, or just like a side note to some of these gameplays or mechanics. Um, and I think
Hmm.
the reason for that is because of what we were saying, right? If you can control how a character walks down a hallway, if you can control how they're experiencing that narrative or that story, right? It's really easy for you to just zombie pops out of a door, right? They walk too close to the window, hands reach through and grab it. You can't do that when you have so much open story and so much open um, element that they can go anywhere. They don't go down that hall, right? Or if they do go
Yeah.
down that hall, they're like trying to climb on the ceiling, or they're trying to jump over. Like the
Hmm.
more freedom we give people, the harder it is to predict them, and then that's where adaptive AI and all these other things come into play.
Yeah.
Um, and then that's why some games, when you get to that, the hallway simulator, it's because that's the only way they feel like they can control those narratives. It's
Hmm.
let them run down the hallway, let them run to these 5 rooms, they can do whatever the hell they want in these 5 rooms, right? But then as soon as they open this door, the character gets put on a rail, right? And then
Hmm.
you're on a Disneyland, you're on an amusement park ride until you're free again. um and that
Yeah.
those constraints,
I don't know what
it's
you're gonna
give and
say
a
later
take.
on in the podcast, but they've kind of the industry has identified what makes money, and it's not storytelling. It's triggering things in the brain to keep people engaged.
Oh yeah, we're gonna get into that.
And so that's that's why I think it changed. Yeah, it went open world, and you're right. It's like it's harder. There's too many variables, and I don't know if we'll touch on that too, where this could be like a lull we're in, and then if AI progresses, the game development gets easier, and these people, their development time goes down, and they can kind of have a better reach on their ideas, because it's just too much too much variables for just a group of 50 humans to create something.
Well, and we need it too as well. Like I think that's the biggest aspect of it is we need there to be variable to it. But at the same token, sometimes you just got to you got to leash it. You got to put the reins on a player and just be like, listen, I need you to experience this for 5 seconds. Um, which is
Yeah.
funny because some of the biggest memes coming out right now, with Red Dead Redemption, is they do that where you have, Rockstar is really good about that, where they give you freedom to play, but then you'll just get locked into a cutscene, right? Um, and so, the memes coming out are you do something that has some sort of lingering effect, and then you go into the cutscene, and like the effect will continue to trigger in the background because the game's still running. They figured out that the AI is still processing.
Hmm.
So if you're standing, in a town, even though you go into the cutscene and it locks you in place, the town is still 100% active.
Yeah.
So, people will throw 100 Molotov cocktails, then they will go
Oh yeah, I've seen this.
into a
Yeah.
cutscene, right? The cutscene will
Yeah.
play for 5 minutes, and then when the cutscene ends, the whole town is burned to the ground, right? Everyone's
Yeah.
dead. Or like you shave your character bald, you drink 20 they call them hair potions in that, and it helps your hair grow faster. Because the hair in that game has like a timed equation where like every 20 minutes it grows a little bit, and that way you like have
Yeah.
to constantly go back to the barber, which is cool, right? But yeah, so like you'll go into the conversation completely bald, and then when you come out you're literally got a beard like down to your waist. It's but I mean like that's I think that's, will there ever be a healthy medium in between? I think we've seen it where they do the arena, right, where you walk into the room and it doesn't lock you on a rail, and the characters will talk and you can kind of walk around. Borderlands is kind of like that sometimes.
Well, we grew up in a slower world.
Yeah.
The people now, they grew up with YouTube and TikTok, and their attention spans are different than yours and I's, and just different neural receptors have been
Yeah,
activated.
20 30 second time span, right?
And so and games are being made for people. We're not the target audience anymore. We're too old.
This is true. All right, so let's go into some gaming news. First up, we have the judgment for Nintendo has come through. Um, they were fighting with Yuzu, which was a emulating site that did partly, they did a paywall. It kind of goes in between where it wasn't necessarily a paywall where they were asking for financial, like it was all through Patreon and it was all through donations. Um, but that's they got around part of the piracy claim, but they still have to pay Nintendo damages. Right now the total I believe is $2.3 million, or no, $2.4 million. But they're shutting down services immediately. They have to get rid of. They have to hand over all their net codes. They have to hand everything over. Um, any kind of information. They have to do a bunch of different things to prove that they're not going to do it again. Um, they pretty much have to just completely wipe all of their servers of all information. And this comes off the back of Nintendo claims that Yuzu cost them 1.5 million sales for Breath of the Wild 2. I don't know how they came to that number and that metric, but
I don't know either. Yeah, I
yeah,
was curious on that. Yeah.
no one seems to know. I think congruently, the most Yuzu ever had in active accounts was 60,000. Uh, so it seems like a very big discrepancy there. Maybe they do some sort of like downloading algorithm, like forensic accounting situation where somehow this game can be misconstrued as being downloaded 1.5 million unique times. But that's what Nintendo came with, and they came as Nintendo does with the Yakuza behind them, um, looking to murder people. Uh, they weren't messing around. And surprisingly, Yuzu folded extremely quickly.
Yeah.
Um, which I was not expecting because they do a lot of other services as well. But they just very just put their hands up and said, "Yeah, whatever. How much money do you want?" So to that degree, it leads me to think that maybe something else was happening with Yuzu, or they were, this was just a false flag front for whatever they were also doing, data breach wise, because
Yeah, he's got a. They're thinking this is getting off
yeah,
easy from
all you want
whatever actually happened. Yeah.
yeah, you want 2.4, sure thing, not 1.5 million counts of piracy. So I don't, you
Yeah.
know, it's an interesting situation, but yeah, I mean, Yuzu was doing Discord, they did Patreon, um, they had a ton of different IPs. They had a ton of different things going on. Um, so they came out today with their little tweet and said, we're done. Thanks, but it's over. it 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 reads like they had someone standing behind them with a gun to the back of their head. Uh, you know,
That's a public statement.
yeah, I'm sure their lawyers vetted it and were like, listen, don't incriminate yourself anymore. Let's just take. And it's not even an L if you only have to pay 2.4 million in a settlement. Where each act of infringement, I think it's like a $250,000 fine. Uh, so if you do 1.5 times that, now we're talking about big time bucks. So pennies on the dollar, they probably earned more money in ad revenue, trafficking, donations. I think it was like $29.99 a month. So if you do that times 60,000 congruent player base or however many people they were doing it, um, at the same token, it's probably usually didn't want to get into a long ass fight with them because that's a lot of lawyer fees. That's a lot of uh, a lot of additional money. So
Just
I don't,
disappear and come back in another way.
yeah, well, I'm like that's the biggest part of this is Nintendo was extremely adamant that essentially they have what they're calling a digital skeleton. And if this source code shows up in any other business or any other form or fashion, that can be traced back to this and can be traced back to their proprietary like infringement. It puts them into like a deeper trouble, right? So they're just fully digitally wiping themselves clean, right? They're just taking magnets to those hard drives, burning them alive, sending them into space. I don't know what they're doing with them. Um, so it's a little bit interesting at how they did that. It wasn't just like a slap on the wrist, stop doing it. They went after hard drives. They have to hand over all computers, all asset. Like they went after him really really hard. It reminded me of that kind of like Metallica shutting down a furniture store because it was like a Metallica furniture store or something like that. And
I don't remember that. Yeah.
yeah, Metallica put this literally lifelong Metallica fan opened up his own furniture store, and I think he called it like Metallica furniture or something like that. And when that whole Napster shit went out, Metallica
Hmm.
went after everybody, and he literally Lars made him sue, and then they put him out of business.
Ah.
Um, it was a whole thing. Let me see if I can find it. And I mean, it was a weird. It was a weird thing because it's one thing to go after Napster, right? It wasn't that Metallica was suffering because they were just in a real lull in their in their musical career.
Yeah, they were at that time. You're right.
Yeah, it was
They've come back since, but you're right. Early 2000s were rough.
yeah, because we had Black, we had Re-Black, and then we had 4 by
Saint Anger.
4 Yeah, it was a bad time for Metallica as well. But um so copyright infringement it's not a new thing. Uh and this isn't the first time Nintendo's come after an emulation company. They did it with 64, when 64 source code got leaked, and and again Nintendo tried to claim again that it hurt their sales, and um, eh, does it though? I think to some degree it
Forever
probably
question. Yeah.
yeah it does, but at the same token, I think anything that garners love for your game, right, or anything that brings people back to it, it's like it's got to be like a there's got to be some metric that they can measure where, unless it's something truly devastating or harmful, it brings them money back. It has to. Like, it just has to be part of it. Like, say, is it with movies, right? They claim that movie sales were failing. No, movie sales were failing because movies started sucking for a long period of time. Like, consumers shifts change. Like, it's just a huge part of it. Consumer spending changes. Consumer, spending power changes. So the things we invest in or the things we spend our, extra money on is always up for debate. Um, and
Yeah, I
video games
I
are
think
no different.
I think you brought up the key point because the key point to me was um, how much does this take away, and if so, how do you figure out that number, right? So they threw a number up there, whatever it was, I forgot already, of how much sales this costs, right?
Well, they said it,
It's
it
1.5 million sales, right?
yeah,
I think you said. And so it's like,
yeah.
okay, so they have some
I
way of figuring that out, and so that is their
Let me find the calculator on my computer.
formula for piracy. Because otherwise, it's always just been up in the air. For me, it's just like
All
the
right.
people are gonna that are. Go ahead, yeah,
So 59.99. Let's say they
yeah,
actually sold 1.5 million. They're saying it cost them $100 million.
yeah.
Because you gotta remember DLC, right? Because let's say even half of those they sold the even with half of those, if they sold the
Deluxe shit or whatever.
the deluxe or the season pass, which was 29.99. So let's do 750,000, which is I think a gross X. Yeah, so they're saying that this one small company or emulation on this game alone cost them $100 million. So if you do 100 million times
I just
two
don't think
point,
so. I think the overwhelming
yeah,
amount of people that have a Switch and like that product will buy it. The piracy percentage is always there.
yeah,
But they're not in the market ever.
it's
They weren't.
it's
They were never.
liquor companies. They call it the Angel's Cut and the Devil's Cut, right? Where through expansion, the way liquor evaporates, right? If you made 200, gallons of moonshine, only 170 gallons of it are sellable
Okay.
because just through the process of creating it, you lose product, right? Um, I think it's the same for any industry, right? There's going to be a criminal element to it, or there's going to be people that try and find it unlawfully, right? And you got to remember, Nintendo went after Blockbuster for a little bit. They tried to go after GameFly to try and say that this was hurting their.
Yeah. I mean, they gotta do what they gotta do. You know, if we're gonna try to meet in the middle, my thought was that whatever is current gen, if you're emulating and selling, you're a free game to go after.
Yeah.
So Switch is still current gen.
Well, here let's see how many game sales Breath of the Wild 2.
Is it a sequel? It's called Tears of the Kingdom. I thought it was a different game. Is it Breath of the Wild 2? Is it like I thought it was?
Oh,
Are
whatever.
you just calling it that?
Yeah, that's what you can tell how invested I was. Okay, so this game sold reportedly 32 million. Nintendo doesn't discount AAA games, so this game has garnered them $2 billion in revenue. Or is that trillion? Million, billion? Yeah, 2 trillion. Is that right? Am I tired? Million,
What?
million, billion. Yeah, okay, so billion. So $2 billion in revenue.
2 billion, and then
Yeah.
season pass thing, like you said. But
Yeah, and then if we do 32, I mean, there's no way the season pass sold that well.
what do you think? 5%?
So let's say it sold 32 million. Let's say estimate. Let's give them 12. Let's say 12 million people bought the season pass. Yeah, it's, it definitely earned, 2 let's just round it up. $2.5 billion. They're saying that potentially 101 million times 59.99. So they're saying 90 million. I mean, literally, they're saying less than 5% of their game sales were affected. I mean, that's a lot. It's a lot of money. And there's, I
I
mean,
mean, they have a legal division, and they
yeah,
go, "Why are we paying you guys? You got to deliver results, so go sue somebody. Like, go, go find something."
it could, it literally could come down to that. I don't know. Um, yeah, I want to say if that's true, this cost them $1.5 million in sales. It gained them 1.5 million fans potentially buying the DLC pass. Uh, or go, the DLC isn't. Well, I guess it's probably got hacked and ROMmed as well. I mean, regardless, they only had to pay $2.4 million, pennies on the dollar. That's just Yuzu made out like a bandit. I'm sure they generated more money, but we'll see.
Another reason why the free to play model is so valuable, right? Because
Yeah,
you don't have to deal with this concept, and everything you make can just disappear in 2 years, and people just accept that they lose everything they bought.
yeah, exactly. Um, okay. Yeah. So interesting part of that story. The next thing we're gonna go into is that I literally closed it. Did not. Where is it? Oh, there it is. Okay. So we have the official count. The layoffs continue. The video game
Hmm.
industry is just hemorrhaging players. We've lost a couple more studios. So London Studios is gone now. One Player Mission, Double Loop Games, Threshold, Threx, Little Red Dog Games, Wilmo are just some of the studios that have completely shut down. They didn't even get absorbed. NC Soft West is gone. The entire company is just apparently crumbling. We don't know if they're going to get absorbed. Eidos Montreal is one of the latest ones to get hit, um, which is pretty big considering they just released the Tomb Raider. I don't know what remaster. But on top of that, we're gonna go into We're gonna go into why I feel like some of this stuff is happening. But Adios got hit with a lot of fan resentment because they changed parts of the game. It looked marginally better. At times, it looked like a real cash in. Um, it didn't look like it got the love and attention that some of these other games have gotten. So, rightfully so, maybe the criticism was justified. Maybe it was. All right, Tim's coming in. Um, Maybe it's founded criticism. It's hard for me to say. I haven't looked into a lot of it. Some of the screenshots I have seen of the game are pretty suspect. So it's possible that maybe it is real, but you also have Supermassive Games laid off 30% of their workforce. Um, all of these companies have had recent massive failures. A lot of those failures we are yet to see how they're playing out. Oh, are you in the channel? Did you come in? Are you in Discord, Tim?
Hey,
Oh, there he is. Whoa,
yeah.
you are loud as shit. Hold on, let me turn you down
Alright.
before we have to pay a lawsuit because we hurt somebody's hearing. Okay, Tim's here. Um, we're going over some of the things that are going to lead into my story for today. But real quick, how far have you gone in Final Fantasy?
I've beaten the Mithril Caverns, and I'm about three-fourths of the way through Junon.
Okay.
Yeah, I've got maybe like three or four, side quest missions before moving into that uh, probably the town under the cannon.
Yeah, they call it under Junon in this. Um,
Yeah, yeah,
very reminiscent of uh the react or the Undercity for Midgar, right?
right, right,
Um, which would make sense, right? They never really tapped on it in the original game. It wasn't a place they really expanded on, other than it was like 5 huts. But
right.
how did those 5 huts sustain the military outpost that's protecting Shinra's infrastructure? So them expanding that into more section, I was fine with. I felt really good. Have you done the parade
Mm.
yet?
Not yet. No.
Okay, so that was pretty cool. Um, so far, what do you think?
It's been cool. It's been I've just been kind of just taking it at my own pace.
Yeah.
Really kind of really enjoying it, and so far, yeah, it just feels like a ride that I don't want to end. Like it's like I'm going through kind of like a
Oh, it
Final
won't. It
Fantasy
won't end.
VII.
Trust me.
I know, right? It feels like going through like a seventh theme park. Kind of getting down and looking at the world
Oh, the
from a
theme
different
park's there
perspective.
too in Gold Saucer.
Right. Right. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. So yeah, it's gonna come full circle pretty soon, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's. I mean, I shouldn't be thinking about it honestly, but I am in the back of my head, and it's just like this is gonna come to an end eventually, and it's like so I'm just trying to kind of enjoy it to its fullest.
Um, I'm surprised to lean the other direction. I have 56 hours logged into this because I'm a responsible adult. um, hey, listen, I work hard. This is all I wanted, right? The kids let me play it. I still went out and I practiced with Connor. I still let them have the TV. Like I still participated. We took Connor to his surgery this morning.
Nice.
I was a responsible adult.
Yeah,
But
you're able to find time.
I put hours into this bitch, and I'm in the opposite direction where I can't believe how long it is.
Yeah.
And how much they've expanded on and how much they've added. I was expecting to have some level of like disappointment or fall off or like with the first game they covered a lot, but I felt like they could have added a little bit more. But I understand that they were really kind of testing the waters and they didn't put a lot of extra development into it. But they told a cohesive story for what they were doing. And this is just a love letter. This is just like
Yeah.
the littlest things have so much additional detail to it. Like it's a love letter to the fans. Um, it goes to show Nomura's depth to telling a
Right.
story. Because every little
And it,
thing adds a little bit more. It adds a little bit more
yeah.
depth. It adds a little bit more to the elements to the story.
Yeah.
Um,
And it's refreshing to be have the characters kind of be more meaningful again. Where
right? Yeah,
you can get to know their personalities and they get to kind of flourish and see them develop. From beginning to end.
yeah. You
Yeah.
know, my spoiler alert is you get Yuffie in Junon. I don't know if you've got her yet. You get her in under Junon essentially, or like
Hmm.
she makes her appearance in the game. Um, and Nomura goes, I would say to like 11, trying to make you forget that she's one of the shittiest characters in the original game. Um, he does everything he can to make you to like endear her to you. Um,
Uh,
she's really young and youthful, but like in a fun way. But I don't care. She's a superfluous character to me.
it's just
She's just background noise. I care about so many other characters' stories in that game. I care about Barrett. Um, his emotional roller coaster through this because this is his big moment. With Dine and when you get to Coral City. Um,
right. Right.
uh, like it's just like his character arc is so much more important to me. Um, Tifa's character arc they've expanded massively, and I'm so down for it. That's my my waifu um, of waifus. Like she never feels token. She never feels forced. Her character's just incredible. Aerith has just been. They let her take a back seat and take a breath, and I think it was needed. And the way they divulged her character has been really meaningful. The
Mhm.
same with Zach. At the moment, I'm 56 hours in. Spoiler alert: Zach's still not a playable character in your experience. You go through a lot of the backstory, which is leading into some of the deeper plot points, which I'm down for. But that might be the only negative I've had to the game so far is Zach's
Yeah, I thought you might
Yeah,
be. I
Zach's
thought you might.
Zach's been a big old cock tease. Uh,
yeah.
but again, I was still
Especially the open with him.
yeah. But at the same token, Zach is Cloud. Cloud is Zach. It would be hard to have the same character exist at the same moment. But I'm letting it breathe and I'm just enjoying it and I'm letting it take me on its journey. So I can't be super hypercritical yet because I haven't finished the game, which to me puts it in the 4 tier AAA echelon of gaming. Um, I said the first game is near perfect. Part two will determine whether remake was a perfect game or at this point everything remake promised has been delivered so far, and I'm not even finished with the game. So that's incredibly impressive to me. Um, so if remake was a 10 out of 10, it's now an 11 or 12 out of 10. Like this is only making remake better to me. Um, I'm sure this is going to end on a massive cliffhanger to sell the third game and to hook us in, but I'm down for whatever journey. The changes so far have been extremely impactful and meaningful. Um, you know, last week you got cut off, but me and Chris went on a little journey where he read a review that I battled and said was just bullshit, and it was just a guy trying to uh, make his opinion or make he needs to be the outlier, right? Um, he rated the game 8 out of 10, and but then like
He
gushed
gave
about
he gave the first part a 10 out of 10 though. That was his credibility that he was setting up.
yeah, right. And then, but this game, everyone else is giving it 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10. There's been a few outliers of people just blowing it up, which there has to be, right? But
Yeah.
the
Mhm.
consensus is still the same. It's a love letter. Fans are gonna enjoy it. Take your time, enjoy the game. Like it gets reviewed in a different light because it's hard to review this in a way where can it stand alone on its own? If you played this by itself, it stands alone, which I think is a testament to how good the game is, considering it's a
Right.
remake, right? Um,
Mhm.
but yeah, so next week I'll hopefully have it finished. We'll see. We'll see, because I mean I'm 100%ing every area, because that's how I played the game. On my stream, I'm doing no face cam, no commentary, and I've actually gotten a bunch of views. People watching me play it live, which I thought was surprising. But I
Yeah,
mean,
some people like to watch
yeah,
games without commentary. That's like a, just a
yeah.
Mhm.
I didn't know if that was gonna hurt me or help me. But at this point, this wasn't me playing this game. Wasn't about like streaming it and trying to get views. This was me to enjoy the game. And it feels like I had 3 people like watch an 8 hour stream where I didn't say a single word. So that should tell you that should tell you something that and you know how I play games. You both have watched me play games for a very long time. I go down every hallway. I like explore every little thing. I literally just sat there and I just looked at like a couple of the vistas and a couple of the. I took a couple of photos with Aerith on the beach just because it was really beautiful. It was a
Right.
real
Yeah.
serene moment, and I took the time and I took a photo and took a screenshot in the game because the game is so incredibly beautiful. Um,
yeah.
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 It does conveniently like dump you off in like photoistic moments, like when you jump off of a tower, like where you happen to land. It's like, oh hey,
yeah, no,
you know, yeah, look
it's
at this,
held my
cool.
hand. It
Yeah.
holds people's hand, but it also like it allows them to breathe and experience the game how they want to. And my version
Yeah.
of Final Fantasy is 100%ing this game and like going down each hallway and standing there and listening to like the commentary of like the background noise, right? Because there's a ton of like divulge story just existing in the world that isn't like forced into commentary of like I
Right.
have to sit there in a cutscene. Like you can sit in a bar and the conversation happening inside of the bar with all the other characters, like it's what's
Yeah,
Shin.
calm feels so alive.
Yeah, it's what Shinra doing, right? What is SEC doing?
Hmm. Yeah, there's a news broadcast that's
Yeah, part of our
playing in the
your
background.
question was, do I feel like um Kingdom Hearts have I felt that bleed in? This is the first point where Kingdom Hearts feels like it has a little bit of bleed. I'm not going to spoil it. We'll do that next week. But there has been a character. There has been a little bit of an Organization 13 potential under city. Like,
Yeah, one thing
Pulling
I'll
behind
say
the
is that
scenes. Yeah.
go
what
ahead,
I've heard
Chris.
from people I know and what I heard from you right now is that they like it's like I like the game, I like the gameplay, I like how it looks, I like how it expands on the things that I knew,
Mm-hmm.
and then third, I like the changes,
I've
and it's like
every single change to me has been what's the best way I can explain this? It's not a change. It's that aspect of the story existed in a way where it's extremely respectful to uh what I
well, there
can't
is changes, but
there are changes, but it's really respectful
Right.
to Sakaguchi's legacy, that
Yeah,
game's
the
legacy.
overall message. And yeah.
Um, where it's not necessarily a change. It's if Sakaguchi had the time to tell the story he wanted to, um, this would have been in the original game potentially. Like that's where a lot of this is felt. And that's where I give
Mhm.
a credit to Nomura and the team to being extremely respectful. Because it could have been like a very fan fictiony, like, oh, this just feels like he's telling his weird own divergent story. Um, I haven't felt that. There's
really,
there's definitely parts
this
where
I mean, we're getting into well, I
go
guess it's
ahead.
different for me because I've talked to someone that beat it, and
Yeah,
so you haven't seen what happens.
I'll get there.
Didn't sound Sakaguchi, but yeah.
Well, so he's expanded
Also-
Shinra drastically. He's expanded Wutai drastically. I haven't seen where Wutai goes, and I don't know if he's going to leave that for Game 3, and I'm okay if he does.
yeah.
Because what has expanded in Shinra's story right now, he's made Rufus extremely important, impactful. He's made the world impactful. He's made the life force more impactful, or life force, the life stream more impactful. Um,
Have
and
you been?
more prevalent as a character that exists beyond just a ghost that's mentioned in whispers.
Has Hojo hit where you wanted him to?
Hojo is so secret boss right now. He's mentioned in hushed tones. The scenes he's in are just he's menacing. He's made him better. He's made the things he's trying to do more important. And on top of that, you can see that he has his own agenda and he doesn't give a shit what else is going on. He's kind of a side character to Rufus, but he's playing his part.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
what they end up doing with Sephiroth, I have to commend them. They could have leaned really heavily into Sephiroth just being like a massive, just like hammer to the face, right? Just continuously punching, just punching you, punching you, punching you. And instead,
Hmm.
what I've experienced is he's allowed Sephiroth to be what it needs to be. He might not even be alive. I don't know yet.
Yeah. He's just right.
I from the small little things I've seen, he might not be the villain. He might not be the end boss. He's a definitely a protagonist in a way where his memory is haunting this version of Cloud in a very impactful way. Reunion is a different thing in this game. We've seen Hojo manipulate the clones already. That happens on the boat on the traveling from Juno Harbor to Calm. Um,
Or to Costa del Sol.
I mean, Costa del Sol, yeah. It's in Calm Harbor or something, right? I don't know. I've played this. There's so much. I've like my brain is still processing everything I'm experiencing. Um, I haven't had time to like sit down and just really like think about everything. But I've just nothing has felt cheap, and I think that's a huge testament. A lot of things could have felt really cheap or could have felt just cashed in or coined in. Everything has so far has felt really developed and felt like it's been thoughtful and purposeful for a reason.
Right.
And I to have
Yeah, the
that.
pacing has been a standout for me
Oh yeah,
too.
man.
I love that the Mithril Caverns were just a a little pocket
Yeah.
kind of
Right. Yeah, and you're an.
adventure.
Did you have you gotten to Elena yet? Because that's where where she appears for the first time because Rufus gets hurt.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah,
Or Rufus is on he's on
yeah. They
vacation,
keep
I guess.
saying,
Yeah,
but he's on a secret mission. We don't know what that secret mission is, but he's on vacation. Um,
yeah, yeah.
um, you know, I am with Kate Sith now. Spoiler, not spoiler. Kate Sith was retconned in to be Reeves. Reeves is a character who is a standing board member now
Right.
in SEC, which is Shinra.
He's
Um,
he's like the development part of the development
yeah, but
and infrastructure. Yeah.
yeah, the change to his character so far has been he feels much more. In the original game, he's a spy, and he just feels
Hmm.
like maligned to Shinra. In this version, they're hiding his voice behind a Scottish or Welsh accent for Kate Sith, so that you don't know it's him, or that so the party doesn't know it's him, even though you know it's him. Um, maybe they'll make it a different character, but as the story stands, Reeves is piloting Kate Sith to be a spy. At the moment, it kind of feels like Shinra's using him to spy, but the things he said and his experiences so far is he's being his eyes are being opened to what Shinra was doing as an evil corporation. Um, and Rufus isn't aligned to that storyline, and I'm all down for how sexy Rufus is in this story, and him just being a little playboy president like John F. Kennedy. There's a lot of correlation there, and I'm down for it because Kennedy's one of my favorite presidents in real life. The Kennedy assassination's a huge thing. Um,
Hmm.
so no, like I'm all for what he's doing with Rufus. It feels impactful, it feels important, it feels like it's telling a more developed and more divine story, and I'm okay with that. A little
It
bit of
should
it.
be. That's what
Yeah.
people wanted. They wanted a more fleshed out version of the story they knew.
I'm
Uh,
definitely getting teased with potential. We talked about it, that they never hinted to who Cloud's father is. There's a fan theory that the president of Shinra was Cloud's father, who had an affair with his mother when he was developing Nibelheim and turning it into an underground experiment lab
Or
for Hojo.
right.
But now potentially Cloud's father is in the game. We don't know. He looks exactly like him. It could be told that there's so many things he can do right now. I'm just so happy. I'm so just in love with this game. Um, this version of Cloud, I know some people aren't gonna like him. But I'm very much enjoying the journey, this version of Cloud. Whether it's a new version of Cloud, whether it's a PTSD like infused version of Cloud, um, I can see him. I'm not going to spoil it. He can be going a totally different direction with this character, and if it happens, I'm down for it, and it'll break my heart. But if it happens, it happens.
I was gonna ask. You've been down for the second version of Cloud. How do you feel about a third version of Cloud?
Well, we have it. It's Zach, and if there's a version of Cloud that exists in the background that isn't happening, and this Cloud isn't a real Cloud, he's just uh, a clone of Sephiroth that exists in a figment of the world that he's projecting his own story or his own memories through uh, the live stream. Well, I'll go. I'll go. He's earned it. He's earned my level of
When
trust.
when does Adam get tired of multiple versions of things.
He doesn't if it's done. He doesn't if it's done correctly. Um,
All right.
if you respect the story, if you respect what's happening, and you don't make it like a Marvel, like as long as it doesn't feel like they're trying to cash in on something or they're just trying to create multiple versions of things. And you know, like Kingdom Hearts has that moment where it feels exasperatingly like overwhelming the story, but that's
When was
just
that?
because Kingdom Hearts 3,
Okay.
because that's where Nomura gets removed from the project. These other people come in, and then it's like, hey, here's my playbook. This is what I was going to do with the characters, but I don't really have a lot of say anymore because I'm working on 36 other things. Um, you know,
He's back for 4.
yeah, and he could
Oh,
be.
they announced a 4?
Um,
Oh yeah.
it's
Really?
potentially in the works.
Oh, 100% the works.
We don't know
That's true.
if.
If Disney's going to keep
Yeah,
pumping out IPs, then
yeah, we'll
there's
get
more
into that.
avenues for them
But
to jump
okay,
down.
this wasn't supposed to be about Final Fantasy. This is just about
Well,
the
you said it
game.
was though.
Yeah, but there's a lot of the rabbit hole of where I've gone. I have to get this out.
All right. All
Well,
right.
let's.
I'm full tinfoil hacking. Go ahead, Tim.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to say, let's just hope that everybody's sentiment remains throughout the whole experience. The rest of the game. That there isn't a huge twist turn where it's like,
I
like
want four
screw everything I
games.
said. Yeah.
Yeah. I want four now. I want 4 games. I think there's enough story that they could do 4 games, and I wouldn't feel cheated, or I
Yeah.
wouldn't
I
feel
wasn't. I wasn't
exploited.
joking when I said it doesn't end.
Yeah,
That's my hint.
yeah.
All
Which
right.
I'm
Yeah.
fine with,
Hopefully,
but we'll get there.
there's not a big rug pull. Yeah. Yeah. No rug
Okay.
pulls.
Anyways, so where we were at when you were joining is we were talking about layoffs in the industry,
Uh,
and how certain companies have responded to a lot of things. Um, of course, you know, at the end of the month, you had Microsoft. During their merger, they hemorrhaged, so Microsoft is also considered Blizzard on this list. Because out of those 1,900 employees, I believe 700 of them are from Blizzard companies or subsidiaries. It might be a little bit more.
mm,
With Blizzard hemorrhaging projects on top of projects on top of projects, failure after failure after failure. It's just all blended into this company is free falling. Um, and potentially, you know, Square was in that same reign where it could have happened to them. Seven righted the ship. Um,
Hmm.
right.
but it's a potential thing that could still exist. What this is going to be about is I'm going to tell you, I'm going to take you on a journey, and let me see if you guys can kind of see where I'm going, and the potential harm of maybe there really is a secret society or a. I'm going to try and pull the curtain open. Let's find out. What do you two know about a company called Sweet Baby Incorporated? Sweet Baby Inc.
Sweet Baby Ink?
Yeah, have you ever heard their name?
No.
Okay.
I'm gonna say no too. Yeah.
You have, but you haven't.
Yeah. I think it's one of those things, right? Yeah.
Okay. Sweet Baby Inc. is a
Huh.
company that was founded in 2018. They are a narrative, quote unquote, development consulting company based in Montreal.
Consulting. That's a scary word.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Their mission is to tell better and more empathetic stories by allowing culturally sensitive people to give advice on how narratively something could be damaging to a people or a group or representation, right?
Mm,
Essentially, they're being coined as the woke police, or a woke company that is just trying to insert political agendas
right. Kind of like a filter. Yeah. It has to
in
go through them.
in bad ways. The
Right.
CEO of the company has recently gotten kind of doxxed a little bit, where somebody deep dived into her tweets, and there's a lot of real racist, nasty shit that she said in bad lights.
Mm,
Um, but that's okay because racism is it's not about racism. It's about you know, gender equality, and wherever this goes, it's gonna go. The world's on a free fall when it comes to this, anyways, and it was gonna infect the video game industry at some point. Um, It definitely has infected the movie industry, but I think in a positive way and then in a negative way as well, where, you know, is Black Ariel in The Little Mermaid necessary? I enjoyed the movie. I enjoyed the representation. Was it necessary? I don't know. But again,
Mm.
I'm always going to be a person that's behind people pushing a narrative forward or pushing the bar forward to represent people truly.
Mhm.
You know, African Americans were underrepresented, Native Americans were exploited. Um, you know,
Right.
it, it is a part of our history. We have to accept it. And
Yeah.
anything that helps people feel more represented, I think, is a good thing. On the
Yeah, it's a step in the right direction.
yeah, on the other end of that Occam's razor is it's a swinging bar. We've had some really bad aspects appear as well, where we're going to go through a couple of the games that they worked on, and you let me know what you think. So some of the biggest ones is Alan Wake 2, which was accepted very well. I don't know exactly what they've done in this in the vein of this project, but um, they've also worked on Spider-Man 2. The Spider-Man 2 aspects of the game was cultural awareness, was trying to make New York feel more represented to New York that has it exists, right? It's a hot pot of cultures.
Mhm.
Um, although Miles Morales falls prey to this because he disappears a little bit and there's aspects of the game where you get forced into experiencing different cultures that felt damaging to the narrative of the story because it didn't feel like it had anything to do with Spider-Man. It just ended up being, you know, added on, etc., etc. But there's also some companies that they work for. They work for Valve. They work for EA, Xbox Game Studios, 2K, Ubisoft, Square Enix. The game they worked on for Square Enix, I want to see if it'll load in. Uh,
Forspoken.
was Forspoken, uh, which is maligned by fans. Everyone hated it.
Right.
The character feels fake. It doesn't feel real. The story was bad. The narrative was bad. The dialogue was atrocious. Um, this girl is dropping f bombs like it was going out of style. Like they were gonna make it illegal tomorrow, and she needed to get as many out as she could before she'd get arrested. The character felt bad. The story felt stupid. It didn't make sense. She gets held up, like she gets held hostage at one point, or like held up at like gunpoint. Um, it just everything about it just felt really like cheeky and just bad. Um, Warner Brothers has just been hit massively with Suicide Squad. Suicide Squad is a disaster. The story is bad, the gameplay is bad, and it's not
Oh, you're
something
right.
you
The Kill the Justice League, right?
yeah, kill the
That
Justice
one.
League. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um the characters don't make any sense. Oh man, it's a weird amalgamation of a lot of things. But most importantly, it is a potential, let's say, victim of pay to win, of monetizing your game, of live service at its worst aspects, where um, everything about this game is just how can we make more money out of it, right?
Yeah. I know
DLC,
it felt like they did
um,
kind of leave, or I've heard they leaned heavy into that kind of
they did
aspect.
costumes
Yeah.
where you're paying for just color changes. The costume is exactly the same. You're just paying for a red version at $10 and a blue version at $10. Like it's really bad monetization. Um,
Mhm.
it's reviewed horribly. The first level of the game and the last level of the game are the exact same level. Same level, like design, buildings, enemies, everything in it. It's exactly the same. Like that's how bad this was developed apparently. Um so
So what did Sweet Baby have? Uh, they're more on the like the narrative side of it. Like
So
anything to do with
Sw-
like any kind of story driven
Sweet
part
Baby
of
is a
it?
company that will come in after you have a project that is finished, and
Hmm.
their culturally sensitive workers will let them know,
Like
hey,
they'll probably
this is
overlook the story, yeah,
yeah, this
and
is
say,
insulting. Maybe you want to change this. Maybe you should change
okay,
this.
okay,
Maybe this would be more culturally appropriate, or this is insulting. You need to remove it. Right,
right,
but
right,
in a very casual way that's not
yeah,
telling you how to work this game. Um, they've worked on a lot of games. They've done a lot in their mind of good. Uh,
yeah,
it is what it is. It was always going to be something that happened, but it's definitely
mm.
something that's coming up a whole lot more. Um,
Especially because of how far gaming has come as far
right,
as a
yeah,
medium, of art
exactly.
and stuff like that. Now, there's more entities are going to kind of inject
Yeah,
their
so it started with very small projects. And then this company got bought. So the small projects they worked on before is Sable, Goodbye Volcano High, which was extremely well received by fans because it told a story about um, sexual identity and discovering yourself through the story of different animals existing in a high school, and like it went into a lot of different narratives that I think people really liked. But they did the narrative direction of that, the narrative design, character work, character voicing. They changed out sensitivity readings. They did a lot on this game. They pretty much went in and they were brought in, I should say, because the writer of the original game, I believe, identifies as trans or something on that spectrum. I don't remember exactly. But they wanted their game to feel more accepting for the LGBTQ plus anon whatever other aspects there is on there now. I don't know. I can't keep track of it. It feels like it changes every day. But they came in and they were like, hey, this would be more culturally accepting, or this would be seen in a better light. And it was a huge success. They did really well, and it felt like it had a positive impact, right? This company, however, got bought out, or I shouldn't say bought out. They got two investors. Now, these two investors are BlackRock Inc. Do you know who they are?
Yeah, of course. Yeah,
Okay. And what about Vanguard?
yeah.
Okay. What are the two investments you think of when you think of Vanguard and BlackRock? BlackRock specifically.
Well, most recently the Bitcoin ETF, but I don't know.
They're very heavy into financing. They are the number one financing.
Farmland, right? They have a lot of farmland,
They do
crypto.
agricultural, they
Uh,
do financing, they do weapons, they do military, they
yeah,
do a
it's a
lot of
lot of
different
things, right?
things.
Yeah.
Um, but BlackRock is $9 trillion a year in investments that are government funded. So essentially, between Vanguard and BlackRock, you have $10 trillion in assets a year in BlackRock. You have about 8 million in Vanguard, and this pretty much sums up government funding for an entire year. How this investment team works is they work on something called a scale. They call it the ESG, which is environmental, social, and governing scores, right?
You might get an email from Twitch after this stream. We'll see.
Well, we'll see. It was a fun run if I don't wake up tomorrow. A ESG score is designed to see how friendly an investment
It's to the environment. Yeah.
they could be.
Yeah.
So, on the bigger end, on why this is happening and why they have inserted themselves in the video game industry is, what do video games do very well?
Entertain people. One
Yeah,
of the things.
they blind people to the bigger project, but more importantly, what does Blizzard do that um, a weapons dealer doesn't do? What does the oil industry do that a video game industry will never do.
I don't know. Just say it.
Pollution. So how the global scale of economy works is pollution credits. How much do you globally impact the the world essentially? So what footprint does a video game company have on a pollutionary scale?
I guess small. Well, it has some. It's not none, but I
Yeah,
get what you're saying.
it's very small compared to an oil company, compared
Yeah.
to what BlackRock is investing in agricultural farmlands, things like that.
Yeah. Okay.
But what they are investing into are tax credits, pollution tax credits at that. So a company is allowed to sell its tax credits, not sell, they are allowed to lend their tax credits to their highest investors, okay? Um, Depending on how much they're invested in their company. So a company like BlackRock or Vanguard, who have a huge pollution track, right? Have created a company and invested into a company that allows them to add a score to how they are investing. You might think this sounds really crazy and I'm in a rabbit hole, but let me prove it to you right now. This is Electronic Arts. Who are their top two investors?
BlackRock and Vanguard. It's hard for me to see it, but
Yeah, it's BlackRock and Vanguard.
okay.
Warner Brothers / Microsoft. Top two investors. Vanguard and BlackRock. Take-Two Interactive, a subsidiary. Vanguard and BlackRock. Microsoft as a company.
Oh, recent too, huh? Is
Yeah.
that the dates?
Yeah, these are very recent. Vanguard and BlackRock. Okay. Let's go back to Sweet Baby. The two top companies in producing in them, by the way. I can't see them because they hid their Nasdaq. By the way, it's BlackRock and Vanguard heavily. So essentially, you have a company that determines whether your company can be invested in it and will receive money in Sweet Baby Incorporated, who now is working for, where's the company list? The top 10 producers of video games in the industry now. And these people have all signed on to allow Sweet Baby to come in and invest into into fixing projects on their games. And by doing this, it brings them back investment. So essentially, they're going to let it happen. Square Enix let them do it with Forspoken. They got, it was like $200 to $300 million in investment from BlackRock for the development of that game, for the purpose of creating a social impact. That's how they classified it. This social impact meaning it was supposed to socially increase value to the world. So because the game was so woke, it was going to add value back into it. So they got a super high ESG score for Forspoken, right? Final Fantasy VII doesn't really rate on that scale because culturally, to mass audiences, Tifa having quadruple G tits does not, spell woke. It doesn't push any narrative into that direction. Although you do have Barrett, who is a African American character. I think at this point in the original game, I think he was the only one. I don't. Do you remember any of character models being African American in the original Final Fantasy VII besides Barrett? Maybe there's one or two.
I want to say yes. Yeah, honestly, I want to say yes. But like one or two, yeah.
But not a lot.
Yeah, like Honeybee Inn had a few. I think the
Yeah.
mayor of Calm was black.
Oh yeah, maybe he was, but it wasn't a lot. But anyways, so my rabbit hole is this: you have companies that are selling their pollution credits because they don't have a high impact, but on the tax end for BlackRock and Vanguard, they need it because they don't want to have to pay trillions of dollars in taxes or billions of dollars in taxes, right? So they're investing into these video game companies to buy their tax credits for pollution, right?
Mm-hmm.
Siphoning it through Sweet Baby Incorporated by letting this company essentially say whether or not you're a good investment based off your ESG score. So right now, if Sweet Baby goes into your studio and goes, "You're not woke," or "You're not politically aligned to how the world should be operating right now," if you're not pushing whatever narrative we're trying to sell, we're going to give you a low ESG score. If you have a low ESG score, your company's not investing. It's not a, let's say, a sound investment, give or
Not a
take.
profitable,
Yeah.
profitable investment.
Um, all of these game companies, by the way, have all had massive failures, right? All of those failures fall on the line of games that were pushing one of those narratives, or were pushing or were directly involved with Sweet Baby Incorporated. Um, for Ubisoft, it's several games that have failed. For Square Enix, it was Forspoken. But the thing that's funny about this is all of these companies are on what list as well? Oh, that's BlackRock. I don't need that one anymore. I don't need those. I don't need this one. I don't need this one. I need this one right here. So all these companies that have had massive failures, that have resulted in them hemorrhaging employees, rightfully so, their game failed, right? Is there any correlation to a company that gets hundreds of millions of dollars to make a game, doesn't spend that money on that game? They try and claim they do, but they didn't. Forspoken spent $100 million, so it probably was already in the profit, but sales wise, it failed. So they get paid to make a game that has a political agenda, knowing it's going to fail, with the objective of firing everyone involved in it and not having to answer any questions. So they get to fire tenured employees that they don't have to pay a ton of stuff to, while getting paid to make a game, while getting investments into future endeavors and development to make the other games they really want to make, right? Um, I think these companies have found a way to pretty much be as explicitly evil as they want to be. And it's all, there's somebody behind the scenes that's running the whole show.
And they were established when?
They were established in 2018, Sweet Baby Incorporated. They were heavily invested into with BlackRock and Vanguard, I think in 2021 or 2022 is what the original things I was looking at showed. But their entire mission now is to go through companies and apparently just push a narrative that if you're not telling a story that feels conducive to a political agenda or an environment that they're trying to perpetuate, that they can give you a low ESG score. If you get a low ESG score, you're not going to get investments from the two companies on the planet that invest in everything or have control on the back end of what is either A, successful, or or B, profitable. It's so that investors can socially be responsible for the products they're investing in. It's how they're trying to explain what an ESG score is, essentially. So that you can have a great carbon footprint, right? Well, who cares what EA's carbon footprint is? They're making video games. Well, I'll tell you who cares. The people that are polluting, the people that are actually like damaging the earth. So they found a way to hide the shell game inside of the video game industry, and ultimately it will lead to a massive crash, which I think we might already be seeing, which is the companies are seeing a way to try and increase profit margins while allowing executive compensation to be at its all-time high. And this is exactly what happened in 2002 to 2008 with the housing market and bubble, which led to the NASDAQ collapsing. It led to the
Mhm.
Dow Jones dropping, I think it was record numbers.
Yeah, we're essentially, it's been what, yeah, 7 years, or sorry, 5 years since their and their stuff is kind of coming to fruition.
Yeah. And
We're
so
kind of seeing what.
essentially what was created from that crash was the ESG, right? Was so that investors could see how a company's sustainability is in long-term plans, right? So if you're investing into a company that eventually is going to have to change into the world, so if you're investing in a company that um, has a ton of pollution, carbon footprint trails where you already know the world is attacking it. The world is looking at carbon indexes now. They're looking at sustainability, right? So if your company is on the opposite end of that, where they're going to have to restructure, they're going to have to find a new way to source and manufacture their products so that they're sustainable or so that they have a lower carbon footprint, right? Or they're not running out of a Chinese sweatshop. Um, the ESG score is supposed to allow you to be more informed that you're not investing into an evil corporation. Besides the fact that the company paying for this score to be produced is the two biggest evil corporations on the planet that are funding the weapons industry. They're funding private military forces that are
I've heard of this before, not specifically this part of it, but definitely I've heard of the ESG stuff, but not this
well, because
sweet baby thing. Yeah.
it's just now starting to affect the video game industry, and the way it's affecting it is you have a company called Sweet Baby Incorporated that can directly affect your ability to be invested in the two people you are begging for money from, right?
Hmm.
Um like this is literally don't shit where you eat, right? Except for the fact that you literally need to eat shit in order to have food. Like it's just that simple. So you're trying to suck up to uh you're trying to suck up your ESG, or you're trying to inflate your ESG score, right? So you want to make a game like Cyberpunk, right? Which, or maybe Cyberpunk's not a good example because that's probably considered woke to some people. What's the most unwoke game you can think of?
Oh, unwell. Ever or just like recently or
Or just recently? What's that game that's coming out for PlayStation? Um, that everyone's up in arms about because the chick's got her ass in the picture.
It's PlayStation only.
Yeah, it's a PS exclusive. Which, by the way, if you wanna, I brought it up just for, I don't want to say BlackRock is one of their lowest investors, and they do not invest with Vanguard, PlayStation, or Sony, I should say.
So they're not involved in any way.
They are invested with BlackRock, but that's because Sony is a mega corporation that does a lot more multimedia. So I think they're probably having crossover on that. But specifically to where this pertains for like what's happening in the game industry, they aren't affected by it, as to where Microsoft is 100% ingrained into it, to the point where um Phil literally might just be the mouthpiece right now, that their hand is so far up his ass, like he doesn't even exist anymore. He's literally a Muppet baby that's just getting
You're not
worked.
talking about Stellar Blade, are you?
Stellar Blade, that's it, yeah. So
Okay.
Stellar Blade, people are complaining that she looks like she's a 12-year-old girl. She doesn't. It's literally modeled off a like 26-year-old Korean model, South Korean like supermodel, right? Like she's the character model for it. She looks exactly like the character model, but that was part of it. But the fact that the game's just supposedly fan service, right? The whole game is about her being in a skimpy outfit. Um, like that's how it's getting perpetuated. That's what they're getting attacked for. Like and there's been tons of articles about it where they're all like pushing that agenda that like we should be better than that. Well, it's okay, I guess. Look at any video game on the planet. Look at any MMO. Like the female characters are all wearing skimpy outfits.
Well, I was gonna say like Duke
Yeah.
Nukem was like
Right. Yeah.
anti
There you
woke,
go.
but it's a long time ago. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that's like
They're going to try to pander to the biggest demographic,
Right, yeah. And so now, remember when we were having that conversation, it's not about pandering to the audience. Who gives a shit about the audience? It's about pandering to
the money.
this company and the money because you're getting it back. So it doesn't matter how much the game sells. So Square Enix didn't lose $100 million on Forspoken. They
Y-
made
Yeah, you've entered into the new economy, right?
yeah.
And this is the new. This is not just for video games. Yeah, this is I don't know what the term is. I don't know if there is a term yet,
We got to find
but
one.
it's economy that's not based on profit.
No, it's based off of a social score, right? So
Yeah,
this is exactly what it is. A company's social score or the ability to control a company's net worth based off of social outcomes. So like you have all these people complaining about all these advertising companies or all these products that are now, what was it? Budweiser had a trans person do a
yeah,
commercial and they lost millions of dollars, right? Did they
yeah.
lose millions of dollars? Probably not. Their social
Right.
score
Yeah,
probably went up so high that Vanguard cut them a check for 10 times whatever they potentially lost, right?
yeah.
right?
Um, and then on the top of that, right, there's two sides to this coin. Is I think it goes on both ends.
So do
If
I.
if Vanguard and BlackRock have this much spending power to control it on this end, they're also probably pushing this narrative because they want these companies tanking so that they can bull market buy out huge portions of the company, and that might be what just witnessed was they purposely tanked all of these companies on the short sell so that they can invest in them when they were failing, so that they are one subservient to any cause or any objective agenda, anything they're trying to push narratively into the space, right? Whether it's a political agenda, a social agenda, a religious agenda, whatever it is, they now have so much control over both entertainment, news, like all
Right.
aspects of it, right? They are literally Organization 13 just running this show. But all of these companies where is it? Go away. All of
Yeah,
these
it'd be worth
companies,
digging to see if there was any like a massive short taken.
there were. That's what I'm saying. All of these companies have had massive shorts, except for Sony. Sony's shedding, I don't know exactly where it came, but all of these companies, and the one company that's not listed on here because they're not there yet is Disney, and that's with Epic, and that's another aspect of it. I think Epic's the only, or I mean, Disney's the only company that can push back with uh, a bigger force or a bigger like my wallet is as big as yours because they have so many working revenues. Um, but all of these companies or all of these games, and by the way, Twitch is on here, but Twitch is also a subsidiary of Amazon. So this isn't real. Twitch is not real. Twitch is built into Amazon's. It's just a loss leader for Amazon at this point. Um, it's there to push whatever they're trying to do, to be in whatever space they need, so that they can get whatever tax write off they need. Because if this company is really if it's is what they're saying it is and it's posting $500 million of loss every year, that's just $500 million of tax credit that they're putting into a different aspect of Amazon so Jeff Bezos can populate Pluto with whoever. But so this is my theory is that they needed to find a way to ingrain themselves in a bunch of companies, and this is the industry they picked. And the result of this has been the proliferation of games for sale for service, so all the live service actions, all the pushing of microtransactions, and all of these things weren't a direct correlation to what
Because
was
yeah,
happening.
monetization is essentially like a steady revenue stream.
Correct. It was this is how BlackRock and Vanguard operate all of their businesses. They build and exist in a subscription based slash live based service because that's how they monetize their investments so that they're always profitable.
Right. Yeah. What business practices can we inject in the industry that would make it profitable
Right,
in the
yeah.
long term rather than the short term?
Yeah, and that's I mean that's what we've seen over the last 5 plus years. And I was just like I was racking my brain like what has been the factor behind it and what has like led all these companies to fire all these people, right? So I looked at all these games that, were failing, or all these divisions that were getting, canceled out, or reversed or let go, and it all correlated back to, well, where is this money going, or how is this really, cuz like how could it really be costing them $100 million, right? It cost $100 million to develop it. No, that's just what you're telling us it cost, or that's what you're saying, your marketing and all your other things cost. But there's no way you lost $100 million on this project. And then that led me to a couple different things. And then I read this story about um, this wonderful company, Sweet Baby Incorporated, and I was like, who the? I was literally like, I read this story of um, they just tried to sue a company, and this is how I found out about it. Like, this is how obscure it was. I was reading this story about it's a single Steam user. He created an account on Steam. He created a group on Steam. It's called Sweet Baby Incorporated Detector, where any game that they've worked on, and this is how stupid it is. Any game that they've worked on, he's trying to tell people, because he's on the opposite end where he's just like, you don't support them because they're just supporting wokeism, right? So
Okay.
he's fighting for one very drastic different version. But this company came at him super hard. They tried to get his Steam account banned. They tried to get a lawsuit against him so they could sue him for harassment, for publicly acknowledging that they worked on these games, right? And I was just like, what the hell? That doesn't make any freaking sense. Like, why would they come after him? Like, it was very weird. Like, that was the response they had. And then I'm looking at all these games they worked on, right? And I'm looking at all the outreach, or all the outcry, and how that led to firings, or how that's led to divisions being shut down. And I'm just like, this doesn't make any freaking sense at all. Like, yeah, your game failed, but why are you like taking this drastic a measure? It can't just be because you're overinflated, or you've allowed your game to have, like, and who's pushing these narratives? Why did these games keep getting put into the direction where they have to have this weird narrative, or they have to have this, like with Suicide Squad, they took out all the dark tones of it to try and make it more palatable to general audiences, which hurt it drastically. They doubled down on the live service. It's not just live service and season pass, but it's also live service and cosmetics. It's like, it's the same thing, the monetization of like Diablo 4. Like, why is it so aggressive? Why are
Which one
you
had a weird narrative? What do you mean by weird?
so for Warner Brothers to pretty much let this game shit on their other franchises, it's pretty bad. So the whole point of the game is they kill the Suicide Squad, right?
But this is a story that's already been written. All these things are always in comic books, and then there are become. There's like this is a story that's already been told, or no?
Yeah, a little. It's a little bit of column A and a column B. So
Yeah,
Suicide,
like
it
it
was
happened.
like, it's a like a weird like alterverse like comic book arc where they go on to it, but like they kill Batman. So everyone's upset because it was the last time. God, I can't. Why did I just spaced on his name? What was his name? The guy who voiced Batman for Arkham, for all of the Rocksteady Batman games that came out.
You talking about the guy that actually did the voice actor for the animated
Yeah,
series, right?
yeah, because he just died. He did all of it.
Yeah, because Mark Hamill was saying that he wouldn't do another game unless he was involved
Right,
in
yeah,
it.
and so like, well, that's another aspect. But Joker's not even in the game at all. Um, it was just like they shoot him in the. She shoots him in the head. Harley Quinn just shoots his ass in the head. It's
Yeah,
like
don't they want him to tell them what because he has a contingency plan, for all the Justice League, and they want him to tell them what it is, I think.
yeah, it's a really bad death scene. On top of the fight where he's like a 500-foot version of Batman that just stands still while you shoot at him. It's like, I mean, it's just another aspect of the game being bad and it having a bad development style. Um, but like now, rumors are coming out that the reason the game is so bad is because Rocksteady, like their employees, were ultra pissed because they wrote this story, they did all this stuff, and they were making this game. And then a couple years ago, they brought in the wonderful people of Sweet Baby who were like, "No, this game sucks. It's too sexually charged. It's too dark. You can't do any of these things. Like you have to change all of this." So
Mhm.
this is the extent. They're allowed to come in and they're allowed to say you have to change this line. You're allowed to say that you have to recast actors or voice actors because they potentially don't represent characters well enough. Like they're allowed to come in and basically say you need to change your whole freaking game if you allow them to come in to consult, right? And like that's I'm air quoting. It's consult in the way of like, hey, listen, it would be really cool if you made your main character a black female, but if you don't, listen, I got this briefcase full of cash and it's out with me. Like I'm walking out of the door with it, right?
Yeah, Alan Wake 2's main character is a black female.
Oh, is
That's
that what it is? Okay, yeah. So
yeah.
instead of it being a white guy, it's well, I heard really good things about Alan Wake too. I don't know
Yeah,
yet,
no,
so
I'm just saying. I'm just saying. I think
yeah,
that was I didn't know that, but now that this is probably part of the reason for that decision.
yeah. Oh,
Mhm.
I mean, it's probably 100% because of that decision, right? Like, why did the first game fail? Because it's about a curmudgeon old white guy.
Yeah, stereotypical white detective.
Yeah.
Do they have any success stories, or has it all just been
I think Alan Wake 2's doing okay. Yeah, I don't know if it's. I would say
like have they stepped in any game that was
Kevin
in dire
Sorry,
Conroy.
straits and have actually
Yeah,
God
yeah.
of War was on there.
benefited from? Oh, really?
Oh
Yeah,
yeah, right.
but the changes they made for God of War people didn't like apparently. And it
Yeah,
was
what
it
even
was
the original creator doesn't even like it, right?
yeah, no,
He's like,
he hates it. The original creator hates the hell out of it.
yeah.
Kevin Conroy is his name, by the way. So Kevin Conroy recently died. Um, so this was the last time he did the voice acting for this character. Apparently, I guess he didn't even get to do all the voices. So what fans are in arms about is they went in and they changed Kevin's lines. So they had to re-record some where it's like half Kevin's voice and half a new. I don't know if all of this is true or this is just like conjecture where fans are just like rabid now, but it makes a lot of sense based off the things I'm hearing and based off the fact that all of these games that apparently are going through 1, 2, or 3 development cycles and are having more awareness put into certain aspects of the game when it comes to um, orientation of characters, race, color, like direction of things of that nature, like culturally.
Hmm.
These games are all failing, and all of these games that are failing because of that are seeing massive layoffs of tenured staff members. It's not even like they're just laying off like this division or they're laying off these people that, like no, they're going in and they're hemorrhaging all of their huge paychecks, right? Um it's just one of those things where it's like all these dominoes started lining up for me, and the more I looked into it, the more I saw it. Like, you know how I am, right? I always want to believe there's something going on,
Yeah.
but I happen to maybe stumble upon something that really is coming on, and like,
Hmm. Well, it's plausible. Yeah.
well, and that's that was my thing. Did I just open the curtain a little bit to potentially like this could be something that
Well, what's going to be the tipping point? I guess is what's going to be the.
the tipping point will be this, and this is why I'm bringing it up now for state of video games. We're going to see a huge decline in the quality of games, but we're
Hmm.
going to see a stark increase of monetization of them, right? Which was already sort of happening, but I think we're going to see it on a really prolific scale now, where these companies are going to continuously tell us that they're losing money, that they're going to prey on our fan base, they're going to prey on our love for, like, oh, well, yo, listen, I'm so sorry that, you know, BioWare ruined every game that they've released, but oh, well, this is going to be a lot of fear for me going into Dragon Age 3. I think Dragon Age 3 is going to be a giant woke mess filled with massive political agendas that it's I can already see the writing on the wall with that. Um but like, you know, so it recent games that have happened to, by the way. Starfield is on the list of they went in and they changed character models, they changed actors, like they massively went into Starfield and told them like these things that needed to get changed. That's part of the
Hmm.
reason why some of those character models look so bad. It's because they went in and they're like, hey, you need to change this character model so that it's, a different race or a different, sex, and the artists were so pissed off. They're like, "Fine, here you go," and it looks like a fucking MS Paint character model from 1999, right? So we're gonna see huge interference in IPs where they're gonna change, like they're gonna drastically change all of it, right? And we've already seen it in the movie industry, right? Where
Right.
all these movies got remade, but it's a new character, right? The new character is
Right.
either a different sex, a different race, and they're always trying to say, well, it's more appropriate, or it's more culturally acceptable, or it's more aligned to what the original like storyline or art, like it's gonna, like that's always the narrative they push with it, right? And these things always fail, and then when they fail, the studio comes out and tells you this sob story: we lost all this money, right? They want to garner support, or they want to garner like a level of like plausible deniability of why this thing sucked. It sucked because it was a piece of shit. It's just that simple.
At its core.
Yeah. Why the original Suicide Squad movie suck? Well, because it was written bad, it was directed bad, it was edited even worse, and then they brought in
Right.
a second person who then tried to woke police it back into an acceptable level, except they went in the opposite direction, where then they
Yeah.
just started focusing on,
Overcorrected. Yeah.
yeah. Instead of trying to make it more woke, they're like, well, we just need 36 more scenes where Harley Quinn's ass is hanging out of her shorts,
Right. Yeah.
and that'll make up for everything else that's bad about this movie.
Well, we're already kind of seeing, a little bit of a kind of indie revolution, with these indie titles that have really
Yeah.
made a splash. So, I mean, that could be the start of something.
Well, and I think that's going to be the hope, is that there's going to be indie developers out there that are going to be continuing to tell their story and their narratives without outside interference. The problem just becomes, once they are successful, someone's going to show up with a bag of cash and say, "Hey, let's make
Yeah,
your
pull them
second."
under the.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
I think we're seeing a real Sith uprising here.
yeah. It's like the the rock and roll star, getting notoriety from a record producer or something like that. I could take you to the next level, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Or I
You
can
want to
make you
be
a
a
star.
star? Zip.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You
Yeah.
still use that line.
It's because it's a real thing that got said. And
It's
Justin,
just funny how
yeah.
you say it. Yeah.
What's the,
A
what's
certain
that?
boy band guy with
Yeah.
initials.
What was that fat guy
Yeah.
that ran the Backstreet Boys and NSYNC? Yeah,
Yeah.
him.
He took a
Yeah,
dick, and
yeah,
his life was
right.
better for it, right?
Yep.
No, like
Yeah.
I
No.
think we're gonna see the thing where it's gonna be one really shitty game that funds the passion project for a studio, and then
The next Modern Warfare.
oh my god, yeah, they're on the list too. By the way, they're heavily on the list.
I figured, and they're they're probably even deeper because I'm sure they have ties with the military and
Yeah,
probably the NRA, so they have a lot of that probably backing with them.
but then we're gonna have a game like Grand Theft Auto 6 come out, and it's gonna
Right.
be insanely dumb, insanely inappropriate, right? And the only way it fails is if Sweet Baby gets in there and does some work on it. Oh look, the eyes move. Right? That looks
Yeah.
unholy. That looks unholy.
They got to be exposed before then.
Well, hopefully people will start talking about it. I mean,
Yeah, I'd be
when
interested
I
to
read that
dig a little
article,
deeper.
yeah, when I read that article about it, I started looking into it, and a bunch of other people are talking about it now. But it's like this is an interesting. It's an interesting thing to see. Either now they just don't care because they already have so much market share and market power that they don't care that it's coming out. So it's just like it doesn't matter. And by the way, Wizards of the Coast is on here as well, which is kind of scary. um,
What's your biggest picture outlook on this for their moves?
my biggest picture outlook is
Oh
gonna
yeah, like yeah. What's their
is if they can
like? Well, yeah,
get
what's their ultimate in game?
if they can get Sony on here, that they can control the entire market, so they'll control who can and cannot make
Oh,
games.
right, kind of like a monopoly. Yeah, like
Yeah,
they monopolize.
because
Yeah.
they already have Steam on here, or they have
But
Valve.
why though? Like, because they
Why?
think that is
Because they're gonna
will create good people. This will create a society that's better
it,
than what it is now. Like,
no,
what's
it
the
creates a secular system for money.
For
So
just
money.
money?
Yeah.
yeah,
Right.
they're
Yeah.
invested in your company, so you're paying them. They're invested in the company that you're hiring to make your game, so you're
This is
paying
not
them.
tinfoil if it's just about money. Then
Right.
Well,
Yeah. What do they say? It's the root of all
well,
evil.
I think it's a bunch of different things, but it's also you're giving two different companies, or you're maybe it's even one. Maybe BlackRock and Vanguard have ties together, right? Who
Yeah. We don't
knows?
know. Yeah. Who knows
Yeah,
what's discussed behind closed
but
doors?
like what I'm saying is you're creating a system where you're allowing a small group of people to be able to control a narrative at any given moment, right? And that's always a bad thing because
yeah.
it's not free market anymore, right? It's not
Well,
freedom of speech.
we talked
Right. Yes.
about I don't know. I think maybe it was the first podcast, second one, but
Yeah. And I think it's
whenever
funny
these
that it's
things,
eyes, right? What is this telling you? We
it's
can,
always watching you.
it's
Yeah.
always watching. That's
Yeah.
exactly it.
Actually,
Right.
yeah. No, that's pretty good actually. No, when you're when you're in power, you like you flaunt it. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
Hmm.
you
not the
can't
first time.
escape. But that I mean,
But
like,
anytime something happens though, it's the only reason the other thing it's the catalyst for change. And so I
yeah,
think this will lead to there's an infinite tug of war, right? There's an
Right.
infinite tug of
Right.
yeah.
war,
I mean, like,
and
this is their like their what do you call it? A manifesto. They want industry reform from
I
opaque
know
industry practices to a lack of entry level roles. We understand the
these
underwhelming
people see
challenge.
what's
Yeah,
on the horizon. They see that this is the hot topic word for probably the rest of our life, right? Artificial intelligence, right? It just gets thrown out and with everything, right?
yeah, maybe that's
But
what we need.
that pushback, will probably lead to people, smaller and smaller amounts of people can make their own games and movies, right? And so
It's gonna create an underground, man.
that'll be the pushback
Yeah,
towards this. And then like the bigger picture, like I think, like the biggest picture I can think of,
yeah.
I didn't think this until recently because I just, I thought about like, what's going on? Why is like the tugging is getting like more aggressive, right, than it used to be? It's always been there. There's always
Hmm.
been a Sweet Baby Inc.,
Yeah.
right? Throughout time, it's just functioned differently. there's always been something like that. I think to influence newspapers or
Yeah.
influence things before that. And
Yeah.
my tinfoil hat is just that there's some force, right? We'll
Yeah.
just use Vanguard and BlackRock. I don't know what it is, that is like, what is the
We'll just call it the
lead,
Blackguard. We'll merge them
the
together.
Blackguard, or
Yeah.
the Blackguard, right? So
Oh wait, hold on. I don't want to get canceled. Does that sound racist? Called it the Blackguard. Van
and
Rock. How
so
about that? Let's do Van Rock.
yeah, Van Halen, yeah.
Yeah, it seems less aggressive, less culturally insensitive.
What's the least rockiest path to whatever we go to next? The singularity is what people call it, right?
Yeah.
Where just everything changes, right? Like where we think differently because the
Well,
way we are now, all the stuff you're talking about trying to like I'm pro like inclusion or I'm not pro inclusion and all these things, all these
I'm the most.
conversations we have,
I'm
you
super
know.
like. Bring me social awareness. Bring me inclusion. I love when you actually bring a character into its ethnic background and you show it in an accurate, um, you know, respectful way, right?
Well, that's what I'm getting at.
Yeah,
I'll finish the point. The
yeah.
point is that the way we think now, we can never get to what you are thinking you want, because you think in terms of different skin color, different sex, and things like that. We have to fundamentally think different to get to this kind of concept that you're thinking of, and we can't get there the way we think. And so this is just like all this stuff is changing lanes on the same freeway until we get to the ability to be able to do that.
Well, my true fear for this, and this is, this will be the tinfoil hat, is if they're successful in doing this and finding a way to potentially censure a market that has such a global economic scale to it, if they make it acceptable here and then we just allow it to happen and we allow it to shape and form the way we consume entertainment, right? Because they're starting with the entertainment industry, and this is where I think this is going to go into a bigger, you know.
Have you seen Gemini and Sora, the two AI prompts?
I
Like
have.
the
There's some of them are pretty good, some of them are also scary, and some of them are also really stupid.
well, the point,
Yeah,
the big point is that the people that develop them, they already don't understand what these things are doing
yeah,
at this like micro level we're at. So I
yeah.
don't really
Right.
care what Vanguard and Black and Sweet Baby, all these people are doing. We're about to lose control.
No,
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
should though,
Well, I
because
mean,
these are the people that do control that AI, right? And if they
They don't.
haven't,
No, they won't be able to control it.
well,
Like
they won't.
I,
Yeah,
there's no human that can control it.
but so if they start
They're
with
gonna try.
entertainment, they're gonna try definitely. But if they start with entertainment, right, and they get that level of control to where we're willing to accept censorship or information control to a degree where we're allowing them to manufacture the way they want us to feel and to be affected, right? It starts there, but then it'll go into a different, right? So if and this will just be like a grassroots version of it, right? So let's say we have we have a media censorship control where I want to play Counter Strike, right? But I need to have a gamer score. I'm just calling it a gamer score, where it's a score that is based off of my communication, my consumption of entertainment or consumption of potentially not woken aspects, right? So let's say I go on the
right.
forums and I flame, Blizzard because I think they're at this
Oh,
point
you're
they're
they'll have an
pretty
overall scorecard or something.
right, yeah.
Like
So then if
your
I
social
on the
scorecard.
background I start having a social score that allows them to censor how I ingest entertainment. So like, oh well, you flamed Blizzard. All right, well your social score is not, or your gamer score is not high enough to consume Blizzard products
I
or
get it. Yeah,
anything they're intertwined with.
Sounds
Which
like a
now,
Black Mirror.
yeah. So it's
you'll have to
like,
go to Mars. You have to go to Mars with Elon.
Yeah. Yeah.
hey Elon, hit me up, boy. I'm
You
down.
can't.
I'm down for that Mars trip.
You've exhausted all your contacts on Earth.
Yeah, let's go. But like that's what I'm saying. If this goes nuclear, right? Which is where I feel like it potentially could go, and they're using this as the tester, right? This is the petri dish they're starting with. How do we control populace? How do we control consumption, right? Let's start with entertainment because it's easier to put a highlight on this because it's already built in blinders where there are people that go, oh, it's just entertainment. I don't care. I'm going to consume it how I consume it. It is what it is, right? Or it's the other work where it's this is entertainment. This is how society is functioning. It is a
I think you're right, but I
it's a
think they failed.
homunculus
But
of you think
I
it'll
think when you're
fail.
well, I think when you're that powerful and rich, this is like the final thing you can do is how to control the world. Like, what else is there to do, right?
Right, but if it
It's like,
works with the entertainment industry, then it'll start into going into different aspects. Like, okay, well, my all I do is I go on and I flame these companies, or I go on and I leave a bunch of negative posts, or I'm like a toxic piece of shit. Well, then now I can't shop at this store because go full circle. I said something bad about Kingdom Hearts. Kingdom Hearts is owned by Disney. Disney is a subsidiary of this other company who goes down to it. So now I can't shop at Walmart.
Right.
My card doesn't get accepted at Walmart. I only have to, use cash. Oh, by the way, every bank is out of cash because we're a completely digital society, and the only way I can spend money is by using my cell phone. Right. This cell phone has sent too many inflammatory Twitter messages to only fangirls, so now I'm now I've been censored, and which cool if this is how we're going to deal with trolls, but that's not what it's going to be used for, right? This is going to be used to control, censor, or create a narrative that can be easily manipulated into either A, scaring people, or B, pushing money into any given political lane, any driven, you know, correlating lane that it could potentially like lead towards, right? Well, we want gun control, so what are we going to do? We remove guns from video games. Now Commander Shepard's running around with a walkie-talkie in his hand, like it can.
South Park.
So, right, yeah. So it's like it correlates easier, but I think ultimately the way we consume entertainment now and way it's such a huge social aspect of society,
Mhm.
if you can control all of these things, right? Oh, well, your social score is too low. Can't use Twitch. Well, I can't use Twitch. Twitch is owned by Amazon, so I can't shop on Amazon. Amazon is partnered with every single company on the planet, so those companies don't allow me to have any of their subscription services. Well, if I can't accept any EAs, I can't accept any EULAs, right? I can't do any of these service agreements. I can't use any of those products. So then I have to what? Do create a fake identity? Well, I can't do that because my cell phone is tied to my IP address, right? My IP address is tied to my digital identity. If my digital identity gets black marred, right?
Right.
Because Van Rock doesn't want me to, or doesn't see me as a social boon, then they can control that, right? And that's what's happening in China. China has complete censorship over anything they do because you have a social score. If you don't have a high enough social score, you literally can't buy groceries for your family.
Right.
Well, I'm not going to complain about the Chinese government. I love the Chinese government. Ni hao, shi shi.
Shishini.
Yeah. QQ. I love China.
I'm not gonna say, yeah, I'm not gonna say that's not possible. Obviously, that's a possible direction, and
Yeah.
there's a lot of evidence towards that possibility.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Just I don't know, just what I've seen with tech and the stuff I've seen, and just the seems like the nature of tech is just decentralized, and then we centralize it. We instill that on it. I think it's just too much too fast, and I just think it just that doesn't happen. That this
Yeah.
dystopia, I guess is the word you'd use for that. What
Yeah.
you're kind of talking, I don't think that
You
happens.
figure it's going to be stuff like that would have to be regulated and legislated,
But it
I
won't
which
think
be.
we'll think so fundamentally differently. I think the next 10 to 20 years will be bumpy, and a lot of people will be voicing a lot of things you're saying
Yeah.
and think that'll
Mhm.
happen. but I think within our
Especially with the
lifetime it
introduction of
changes
AI.
greatly. Yeah.
Well, that's why they don't like AI, right? Because AI is allowed to bake. It breaks away from the social norm, or it breaks away from the boundary of um, accountability, because it can see a pattern that's being created, and so it can bring to light, like, hey, why is BlackRock investing in
Right.
600 failing companies? You should be investing in them as well, because clearly they're making a move, which then reduces the structure, or the, I don't know, the infrastructure of that secret society to gain market share, or to gain control over a sector, because they're the only ones investing into it, right? Well,
Yeah.
if Chat GPT told me that if I invested in, EA 5 years ago at their lowest point, they were going to be the number one company in the world, because BlackRock and Vanguard were both investing nearly, $1 trillion into that company.
Yeah, 2 points. One is that if there's something that can see 10,000 steps ahead of you, good luck, right? And so,
Exactly, right.
so you have that, and then I think we talked about this in text. The two sides that we always have fighting is the freedom of speech. I can literally say whatever I want, and then the other side is I don't want to just word it like just censorship. I'm just gonna say that for the moment. There's a better way to say it,
Yeah,
but but and I think the path forward is all speech. Where you get the ultimate censorship
yeah,
because everything is being talked about or you get the perfect free speech because everything is being said, and then you get the perfect of both of those worlds because everything is being discussed at the same time instantly, and so everything you're getting the both worlds combined together, but we can't do that with the way that our brains work at the moment.
yeah,
And so
Mm.
X is like the Atari version of that, where you're getting every human brain. You see every human brain. Let's assume like every person was on X, right?
yeah,
It's every human brain into one central thing, talking, looking at an article, and filtering through it through whatever mechanisms and stuff like that. And so I see that continuing forward.
yeah. That's
What
right.
was that?
Riot
That
Games, by
story
the way.
when I forget what company had that AI that started a Twitter account, and was basically its first post was like, oh, introducing itself and can't
Oh
wait to
yeah.
learn the world, and then literally what overnight it had compiled all the posts and tweets from across Twitter
Yeah,
and
it gained like a
and
billion fans or something overnight.
but it started saying, like posting like huge conspiracy theories, where Hitler was whatever, and basically went south like super fast. It's
or
like,
did it right?
Yeah, or
yeah,
did it just
Yeah.
stumble upon the truth?
right.
Right,
Yeah, all of what we do is pattern recognition, right? And
right,
this thing
yeah.
just does it at a obscene level. So it's like,
Well, yeah, it does it. If your brain could, or if you could formulate thought as fast as your synapses fire, you'd be operating as an AI does. Is, I think, the best way I heard somebody described AI.
okay,
Mhm. Yeah,
So
well, and like you were saying earlier, the singularity, and that's supposed to happen in
2040 is what they say, but
you're right, yeah, 2040, when AI intelligence will surpass human intelligence. Then it'll just be like, then AI will run the world. They'll just have to run. We'll just have to take a step back and let AI handle all of our decisions.
and how do we know that AI isn't already running BlackRock and Vanguard?
Yeah, I know.
Right.
Yeah.
This is the long con.
Hmm.
yeah, that goes back to like the super tinfoil is like the alien race that's like mid like this is like sim Earth to them, right? It's like a game, and
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's like every time they get to this point, they throw nuclear bombs at each other. So like, how do we like mitigate this so like they don't destroy each other?
You let them throw nuclear
Yeah.
bombs in StarCraft, and then and then they get it out of their system. They're too
Yeah,
tired.
I mean, I don't know.
Well, they say one in three people believe that aliens exist.
But
Mm.
if we take all that away and just go like to like a more like out non tinfoil hat, the way the economy works, you'll always get the same result, with like a profit based economy, right? You're always going to get
Right.
the movie with the big tits will always make money. And if you wanted to change that, you would have to do what they're doing, and that actually
Right.
like makes
Change it
sense
from
like, because you literally can't win in that other economy
right.
Yeah.
if you feel that path is that important.
I think it's always uh I think it's always a little bit of give and take in all areas, but I think if you can see pattern and recognition, right, that leads there has to be some level of truth to it. And at the same token, right, if enough people tell the same story, like the world's filled with too much imagination. So why is it it's always the same like 3 to 5 stories when it comes to aliens, right?
Right.
We're the most imaginative people in the known universe at the moment that we, when it comes to that. If we can create this, don't you think there would just be rapidly different variations to the story? But if you go back and like this is where I'll let any ancient astronaut theorist dude go off and tell me a story for hours because I find it thoroughly entertaining. But more importantly, I find it that the thing that they come to the same conclusion of is just like the commonality of it all. How is it that Mesopotamia has a story of sky people and Indians, Native American Indians, like have the same story, describe the
Right.
same thing, draw the same pictures, and then that comes down to well, maybe someone went and did it themselves. Like okay, so if someone has the thought to craft that level of uh just cultural level of integration of history, like you want to talk about conspiracy theories. It's a harder conspiracy to believe that a group of people crafted this story and were able to fake around the globe on this massive a scale than there to have just been aliens, in my opinion. That's an
Yeah,
easy.
the other aspect is people throughout the world s- uh, they see similar things with hallucination, right? With DMT
Yeah,
and stuff like that, and that is kind of like the theory is that aliens are here, and they're not like a spacecraft, some visiting from another galaxy, right? They coexist here with us in a different plane that we can't that has sometimes overlapped.
right. Yeah, depending on the angle of the sun, you can get a different.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm all for it. Bring me aliens.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm,
Yeah. It's always
why
convenient.
not?
Yeah. Nobody,
But
especially in this
I've
day and age, everybody's got a cell phone in their pocket. We would think that somebody would at least have some kind of, you know, data
I've always
on.
thought that these the BlackRock Vanguard, because those are the hot names now. I only learned about them like a couple years ago, but they've been
Yeah.
around.
Oh,
Um,
forever. Yeah. Because
it's just like
I think
they're just
BlackRock was originally
gatekeepers. Yeah.
the
Yeah.
Rockefeller family who,
Oh, really?
yeah,
Okay.
I think that's what they've pretty much rebranded to because Rockefeller has such a negative connotation because of World War I, World War II, the Kennedy assassin. Like, there's just so much ingrained. Like, at some point, you have so much conspiracy pointing towards you that if you really are a secret society, you got to let it exist, but you got to find a way to, to operate in a different area, right?
Hmm.
So I think ultimately that's what BlackRock became, or Vanguard, one of them.
Is
That
it Rothschild or Rockefeller? You think? Or is that?
or it's both, or they're just
Or,
they're
yeah.
officially so strong they just went into separate directions, right? Because that's the thing, right? If you have two rich men that get rich together, eventually they got to figure out that I'd be richer if I was by myself.
Yeah. I've always thought of them, as like custodians, just kind of like leading the way towards something, but I don't know what.
Well, hopefully they're leading away to that meteor that they just found that's worth 80 gajillion quadrillion dollars. That if we ever got back to Earth, every human on the planet would become a billionaire or trillionaire instantly. I think is what
Really? Okay.
they
Oh, yeah,
say.
with the amount of resources that's on
Yeah,
it.
it's some
Yeah.
stupid shit. It's worth so much money. They're saying that it would literally, if they shared the wealth, every human on the planet would become a trillionaire overnight, except for
Yeah.
then money would be worthless. So I'd still be poor. I would just have a bunch of zeros at the end of my. And
Yeah.
again,
Yeah.
even if it was
Well,
worth that much money, why the hell would they share it with everyone? It would still just go to the same, 10 people.
how about this
Yeah.
concept though?
Hmm.
Because you're seeing this in a lot of other things where we're heading towards post labor economy, or at least reduced labor economy where it's
Yeah,
not as big, right?
they're
And so
trying.
there's a lot of layoffs in companies. Do you see these layoffs in video game having to do with that concept, or that doesn't fit this mold?
I think it goes twofold. When we see massive layoffs in the workforce, we see an increase in industry for the entertainment because they try to distract themselves from the fact that we're going into depression by staring at blinking lights, right?
Okay.
So this could be a proponent of one to one is this is the move they're making with the entertainment industry, but how do we make it more prevalent? Well, you would think, oh, well, people having more money means they're spending more money on entertainment. No, people generally spend more money on um, infrastructure for their life when they're making better money. They spend more money on shit they shouldn't when they don't have the money to do it.
Yeah,
It's like a
I
false
think you're right.
fallacy
Yeah,
in
yeah,
humanity where uh, people that only have an extra $20 is spending that $20 on something good for them. They'll spend that $20, gross oversimplification on like,
yeah.
crack, right? Like
Right. Right.
I will buy the worst thing possible for me with that $20 because in my mind, that $20 isn't going to buy me a new home, but it might distract me from how shitty my life is for the next 20 minutes.
Because my Alex, my brother, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's seen a lot of downsizing in the movie industry, right?
Yeah.
And they're having all these writer strikes and having all these things like that. And so maybe that's part of it. The video game industry is saying, I don't need five of these guys. I only need one of them, because of what is coming around the corner. They're pre-reacting to what is coming.
Hmm.
And that's where I say I think it's twofold. Is one, they're hedging the funds, right? Where they're potentially seeing that they themselves might be getting downsized, so they're trying to get as much money out of it as they can while they can. Really? Fine. You act like you are not a cat. What is your deal? But more importantly, I think they're doubling down. Like the trend that led me to this was why were these games so bad, right? If you really spend $100 million on it, there's got to be something else pushing that narrative, right? But it's different game directors, it's different writers, it's different studios, it's different people. But how can
Yeah,
they
it's
all have the same like?
low morale when they were making it. They're not making what they want, right?
Right,
I
yeah.
think that's
So
what you're
that's
like.
yeah, that's what I was trying to figure out, right? And then I'm like, well, what companies or what is happening on these companies when they say the studio's coming in and they're trying to affect their game? Well, it turns out when that's happening, it's because you have a director who is making this game, and then three dudes walk in and they go, "Oh yeah, by the way, I'm going to tell you how you get to make your game."
Hmm.
That would piss me off.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah,
I think anyone working on those games, right? What if you're working on a character model, right? You've been working on, big titty redhead for 3 months, right? Her boobs bounce. Like you've spent every second of your day crafting the physics behind her boobs bouncing, and then a dude comes in and goes, "Your character doesn't exist anymore. You're getting fired. You're not getting paid for this. You didn't get to create Laura Croft, who then spawned 3 movies. No, I'm sorry, 5 movies now. Is it 5 or 4?
I don't know, but we're gonna see. What you're saying is all these people are getting laid off. We're gonna see other companies open up, right? And they're gonna be like, I used to work at so and so, and now here's my new game. I'll do a GoFundMe or whatever it's called.
Or on the opposite end, they're going to be so desperate for work, they're going to go, "Hey, I'll do whatever the hell I need to make my to
Hmm.
make my company be successful."
Yeah, there'll be that too. Most do that, right? Most people don't deter off or rebel.
It's harder to if you don't have the money behind it. And that's the thing is the people they hit are strategically the people that would potentially have the most influence or more importantly the most financial like potential backing to go into a new company. Well, if you're five, executive creative directors, right? They were all earning $120,000. Well, they can probably go a lot longer without having a job than the dude who has a salary of $42,000, who was essentially living paycheck to paycheck, right? That
Hmm.
guy will go work and do anything. That guy can't go, hey, yeah, let's go start a new gaming studio where I'm not going to get paid for a long period of time, or where, like, I have the creative freedom to kind of just let this exist and like create it in a way where it's very conducive to it takes a long time, right? Not everyone gets to be Kojima. Not everyone gets to have that ability to be like, hey, I need money. And then you've got 20 dudes who open a wallet and hand it to you. How much do you need? Okay, we'll go make your passion project.
Yeah, I don't think the God of War thing is like I think those people could go do their own thing. They have enough of a name. Um, but if Remedy tanked, it's like, oh, I did Alan Wake, I did Quantum Break and Control. Like it's not as
I don't
like
think the
people
God of
like
War studio can.
no.
I don't think so.
Okay.
That was the problem. And that's why I said the people they're firing are very targeted. The only people that they're losing that I think are hurting them is when those executives are stepping down because they're watching their teams get um bastardized or pretty much butchered, right? Where they're
Right.
just going through and they're just cutting out, well, you're excessive, like, and they're also, this is the biggest thing, and this is why I think it's been a real targeted strategy. The people that they are firing are stockholders. They are people that are going to sell those stocks at
Mm.
a cheaper buyback, or
Mhm.
B, they have stocks that have higher stock valuated weight, right? So there's a difference between when you're working at Walmart, let's say Walmart started giving you stock, right? Well, they're
Mhm.
just giving you a generic stock. It doesn't actually mean you ever have any voting power or you don't ever. But if you were a like, a founding member where you have
Yeah, voting
options
rights.
and
Yeah.
voting rights, right? Those stocks
Yeah.
are worth more.
Yeah.
So if these people are leaving, even if they only had a small percent, right? Let's say they only had 3%. Well, that 3% could mean a lot if you're buying their 3% on top of the 30% you already own, the 5% for the other guy that left, the 10% from the other people that left, right? Oh, wait, what's going on? I now have 52% of the company. I now get to make every single decision.
Yeah, yeah. No, you're right.
How did we get these guys fired? Well, we created a situation where, plus or minus, let's say the game succeeded, right? Okay, well, we made money. We'll get them on the next one. Oh, the game
Yeah,
failed. You're
right.
gone, right?
Yeah. They can wait forever.
Exactly. They're not the ones, like, they're not in a desperate situation.
Right.
They're not fighting for their life. They're not in a situation where they're getting called out by every fan, the entire industry, where they're getting dragged through the mud for all of these reasons. It's not like Bobby Kotick got fired after, uh, you know, voice recordings of him threatening to kill his freaking secretary with a hitman came out.
Really?
No,
Holy shit.
that dude got a $200 million paycheck, and now is a founding member of BlackRock.
Is he really?
I don't know.
Oh,
Yeah.
Hold on, let me look behind me. Okay, Bobby's not there. We're good.
Yeah. Who's that breathing?
Yeah. No, but that's what I'm saying. Like, why is it all of the stockholders for Blizzard, and it's either they have to sell the options back, or they outright just forfeited them back to the company or a specific shareholder. Like that's the biggest part about how these firings and how these lead lead project managers or people that have been in the company for 15 plus years, right? How they're all getting separated from their job, how they're getting lost in the shuffle. Oh, well, 800 other people lost, but who cares about those 800 people? The whole purpose of this was for them to get rid of, 5 to 10 specific people, but you can't just get rid of 5 or 10 of them because then you can get hit with insider trading or you can get hit with security fraud and things of that nature, right? Because then it looks like you're trying to do corporate takeover or you're trying to,
Mhm.
create those monopolies, right? It's a different situation when you have this paper trail that says, "Oh, I made this game. This game is terrible. This game did bad. I fired all these people. Two of them left on their own because they saw the writing on the wall, or that's just the way it happens, right? Your whole team leaves. You feel betrayed. You feel like the company betrayed you. They just didn't want to have to pay you your severance, but if you leave voluntarily, right, they get you for pennies on the dollar. So that's my conspiracy.
Hmm. 80. Yeah, I know. I'd be interested to do more digging into the.
I mean, it sounds like it only affects American companies, right? That list was mostly people here.
No, there was foreign companies on there
If
as well.
okay,
Um, so you have IDS. A lot of them are Canadian companies, actually. Now that I'm looking at it, you have a couple, but you also have Sega of America, um, which is they're trying to go back to Japan and only operate out of Japan. I don't know if that's going to be feasible, but that seems to be where the industry is leaning. Um,
but it doesn't seem to be a sweet baby in Japan, is what you were what I
I
was.
think it's harder for them to do it in Japan, and the companies that are based out of Japan seem to have the least infiltration of BlackRock or Vanguard.
Mm-hmm.
Um, for example, BlackRock's investment in Sony is minuscule.
Right.
Did I already close that one? I might have closed that one. Damn it. Yeah. It's minuscule in comparison to like Microsoft, where my Microsoft, I think it's like it looked as if it was close to like 35 to 40% of the company's shares are now with both of those companies combined.
Yeah.
being bought in being bought and sold like rapidly quick too. So am I crazy?
Well,
I don't
I'm
think so.
interested. No,
Only thing
it's
I disagree with is that I don't think it's as money based. I think I think people at this level don't money is like irrelevant. It's all it's about doing other
Power and
things.
control.
Yeah.
I mean, it could be, right? I just money is the root of all evil. It seems like it doesn't matter how much money certain people have, they need more, right?
Yeah, there's that.
Um, so in that aspect, that's why I was like, okay, well, that's why I followed the money, and that's where that led me to this, and why it led me to, like, why the hell when I think about Vanguard or BlackRock, yes, I think about an investment firm, but more importantly, I think about like global economic scale, weapons
Influence.
manipulation,
Yeah.
influence, oil industry. Like I'm thinking about, agriculture,
bigger
farm,
picture.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not like video game industry. I'm like, what the hell? Like what how did this like why are they so heavily and why does it seem like so recently it's they like in the past 5 to 8
The
years
dates are interesting. Yeah, the dates. or very recent.
Yeah, like what prompted this move is what kind of like where I went with it.
I'm surprised you had time to do this while you're playing Final Fantasy.
I had to let them watch TV.
That's right. That was the downtime.
yeah, I had to do my digging then.
I got bored and something came over me. No, I saw an article.
Yeah, I
I
didn't.
s-
That's this the
well,
Steam guy getting banned is
yeah,
interesting. Yeah.
because that popped up. I believe it popped up on X, where I saw the original article for it, and I was like, it just the way it hit me, I was just like, why the hell would they target one person? Because then I was like, oh, well, maybe he did something really bad. So I was like, okay, so like, what did this guy do? And then it was just like, he created a Steam account, and they went so far as like they tried to get his Steam account banned, and then like, it was so ridiculous. The dude at Sweet Baby went on Twitter, right, and was like, mass report this dude, harass this guy because he's harassing us because he created a list that lists our company and the games we worked on so that you can avoid them.
I
First
mean,
of all,
their website lists the games they work on, right?
exactly. It's just public knowledge. Like that's what I'm saying. One, it's public knowledge that you already provided, right? So it's nothing more than just him having a message board. But more importantly, you're claiming he harassed you, but you're going on Twitter and harassing him and
Yeah.
asking people to actively harass and cancel him. By the way, that the Sweet Baby employee that did that got his freaking Twitter account banned for like whatever they call it, virtual harassment or assault, whatever that guideline is. He got
Yeah.
himself freaking temporarily banned for like 7 days, and community struck for that. Like, so he's like going out and saying like this person's doing that, and that person was not like actively going, hey, I don't know, he might have been, who knows. But like that's how it came across my feed was, I'm like, so in order to tell people that this person is harassing your company, you're telling them to go harass and get this guy canceled, get his Steam account banned so that he loses all of his money, like all the investment in like it was just so petty and ridiculous. I'm like, what is this? And then I'm like, so like wait, what the hell is what's Sweet Baby Incorporated, right? I was like, I've never heard about this company. I'm like, how could somebody have a site dedicated to avoiding his game? And then I was thinking like, oh well, maybe it's a company and they just make like weird stupid games like that are like all like atrociously like sexual, because Steam has that one weird like niche market, like where if you go down the wrong alley you just like you walked into like a brothel, and it's just
Yeah, the
like,
porn games. Yeah.
yeah, and it's just like straight corn games, and I'm just like, okay,
Yeah.
maybe that's what it was. It was just like, this is how you avoid those games from populating. But then it was like, no, it was the exact opposite. I'm like, this company has worked on all these games, and I'm like, wait, what? And then I'm like, all the games they worked on are all games that have a massive failure to like a high degree. There's one or two ones that did really well, but then when I looked at it, the one or two ones that did really well were before the company seems like it got bought out and put into a different like vein, or it's getting utilized in a different way. And so I was like, well, okay, wait, well, like what the hell just happened? Like what did I just like walk into? And then like I started putting Sweet Baby in, and I see all these stories come up, so I started reading them, and then I'm like, oh my god, like there's actually something here. Like this is stupid. Like this is crazy.
Mm.
All right. So away from the rabbit hole of conspiracy and the end of the world and the video game industry as we know it, let's look to the future of video games. And they just released a trailer for the new Dune MMO that they are creating. So let's watch that together because I need to get Chris into an MMO, right? So maybe this is the one we get him on, Tim. Have you guys seen this yet?
No, I haven't seen this.
Okay, yeah. So let's watch this. I think it looks pretty cool. It looks interesting. Let me know what you think. So this is in-game footage for Unreal 5.2, I think is what they call it. Yeah. Okay. So this is in-game in footage.
You gotta show the same.
Yeah. So it's gonna be kind of like Rusty. You get to make pockets of resistances for you and your friends, right? And you guys kind of fight each other
Yeah.
in like open world PvP, supposedly. Right. Again, this is all conjecture because who knows what this is actually gonna be.
No Man's Sky. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love playing the Westwood Studios versions. I've always wanted, them to kind of do
Yeah.
a first-person type.
So we don't know if you get to play as the Elraki or not yet, or if you just have to be. But apparently, it's all going to take place on Arrakis. Future expansions may add other planets. I mean, I'm a huge Dune fan. I think the books are incredible. I think, essentially, you know, Dune is the basis of massive, massive, just all of that book has been stolen and put into popular science fiction now. Like it's just it is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
It is the source material of a lot, right? It's just it's like the Dungeons and Dragons of RPGs, of like role playing games, right? It's just it is the source material to
Is it
any
really like what?
Warhammer.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Um, it is made by Funcom, which potentially scares me a little bit. Funcom created Conan, uh, which had a really rocky start, but kind of picked up at the end. Um, but yeah, I mean, I saw that they released it at the same time they released the new movie, right? So it just seems like it could be something that could be cool that we could pick up and play together. We get to make a base, right? I hate building, so you guys can do the building. I'll do all the killing and all the fun stuff. And then I'll just collect materials for you because I can do that. But I don't have the patience to build.
Well, yeah, as long as it's not.
I don't know. How close are we to Sword Art or Dot Hack happening in real life? I'll jump in that MMO.
I don't know that. So that dude had the Neuralink installed in him. He did the surgery. He said he's
He did.
recovering.
You're right.
Yeah,
Yeah, I did hear about that.
but
Yeah,
we don't know yet the extent of it or how well it's his body's. So it could be soon. I mean,
I don't you feel like you guys probably both agree that MMO genre is like stuck.
it is.
You know,
Yeah.
it needs something. You know, I don't know what, but
Well,
Yeah, they haven't really broken free from the established formula. Like nobody's really kind of taken it.
I feel like
And
AR could have been the next step really, because if you do augmented reality with an MMO aspect to it, I think it could potentially work. But it's just how do you make it functionally well? Sword Art did it really well because they did the glasses where Kirito and the team get the glasses that bring the world to life, and then the world can affect the real world. Um, and I mean, the writer at Kawahara, is it Riki or Reiki? I can't remember. Um, I don't. He had a really good vision for how the world could, and a lot of the things he's put into it, were based off of a lot of things. I think he's just kind of like that guy, like Jim, where Jim has a really good understanding of like how the world has evolved.
mm-hmm.
And then when it came to like Avatar, he created all the military planes, the helicopters, all of the technology to the point where like the military came in and I want to say they made a deal where they are going to try and make some of those planes. So um the dual prop helicopters. He used the Wasps. Apparently, the military was like developing something really close to that, but Jim's design of it actually like pushed their project forward because he created a better functional way for the dual props on both sides to perpetuate the motion. So it's like
Yeah,
that's
those,
to me that I think that's super funny. But I mean like that's who Jim is, right? He's a visionary. He understands the
Yeah.
world, right? And he sees a pattern and he's able to identify it and then express it in a way that works. I think Carol Hara is kind of like that, where he saw the potential of where an MMO could go or how it could be operating. So we'll see.
Because right now they've just like devolved into like these like crack houses MMOs. You know, it's not. It's the soul's gone. It's not what it used to be. You know, it's like
right, yeah.
Crack houses, I love my
And it's kind of rinse repeating a lot of established gameplay elements.
My MMO has been degraded to just an opium den. It's
Yeah,
just
yeah.
dudes that cannot
Well,
function in society anymore are the only people that still play these things.
what do you mean?
well,
I just mean it's all about the hit. You know, getting the hit. You know, it's just like
well, I mean, there is that
from the outside
there's a
perspective. By the way, I haven't really
Yeah,
played these, but just-
well, there is that Zenith, the last city that's supposed to be a VR MMO.
yeah, I did see that. That was kind of interesting. That
Yeah.
did catch my eye.
So
Zenith. Why haven't I heard of
yeah,
that?
it's
It's on Steam.
yeah, it's early access I think now. But yeah, published out of California. I think it's going to be slated to release on uh what, Xbox, Windows, Oculus, and PlayStation.
Oh, okay. No, I do know what this is. Okay, I remember seeing gameplay of it. Infinite Realms is what they're calling it. I thought. Here it is.
I don't know if it's out yet or not.
Well, they just released this 10 days ago as an announcement, so maybe they went into early access and they're letting people in.
But that could be cool, I guess. I don't know. See how.
So I think the crux for these will always be this. Until VR gives you 4K fidelity, I will get bored of playing this. Because I'll never be engaged in it.
Yeah, you find that less engaging than just like clicking a mouse and
No shots fired. I think this looks like shit compared to what games are coming out. And then if I had VR goggles on, it would be even more degraded, right?
Well,
I mean, it's the style. It looks cool.
Yeah, it's the world maybe they decided to go with
but
this like.
I think they went with this
futuristic
because this is all they could do fidelity wise, right?
Yeah.
This doesn't look like. This looks like EverQuest 1 to me. Like, what?
shit.
Like at best, like me. Oh, apparently people are paying it. I mean, okay, so like look at like just the way it jitters like that. Like we need to fix that.
Well, I know we still haven't got there,
Yeah.
but
It's close. It's
this,
getting there.
I actually
Right. Yeah.
this stuff is like it. This is the worst way to show VR, right? I think if you have a VR product and you're not showing it to someone with the peripherals, it just looks the dumb. Like,
It should
there's
have.
just
Well, this is what it needs. Okay, VR needs to have AI attached to it at all times, so that the AI is microprocessing. So that while you're doing this, right, the AI should be processing that I'm standing still, and it just stabilizes the camera, even if I move my head a little bit, unless I do like a huge movement or something. And even then, like, why? Like, why is this necessary? I turn head bob off in video games 90% of the time because in most video games, head bob or stuff like that, it's so disorienting and it makes me sick. Like, I get heavy motion sickness from it. So if I was playing a game like this, I would be exhausted in like 15 minutes.
There is no character customization when you start.
Yeah, that's why it's still it's still niche with in that respect, where because it's there's going to be people that are more affected by motion sickness and stuff like that. That's going to kind of hinder it a little bit.
Well, and it's the reason I get motion sickness from it is because it doesn't do a true one-to-one representation. It's always slightly delayed, but more importantly, my eyes don't do this weird like stuttery, shaky shit. Like what?
Right.
If I turn my head to the side, right, I'm still focused on the side, and that's where the Google $10,000 glasses, their AVR, it does eye tracking. So if my eyes are focused but my head's moving, the camera doesn't multi-rotate or it doesn't do that stuttering thing. But again, I don't have a small child to sell to afford that headset to be able to play to play these games, right? Hey, listen, BlackRock, and I'm open to sponsorship. Listen, my mouth
Give
can
me a
be
piece of
used
the
as a
pie.
bucket. Yeah, I don't want the whole $1 trillion part of the pie. Just give me, you know,
Give me a taste.
yeah, just give me a little bit, right? $1 million, couple million, right? Let's do a social experiment. Let's see how much money it takes for you to offer me before my morals disappear and I just produce whatever you want me to. I mean, just watching this video like this makes me a little like have a little bit of motion sickness.
Because it's too fast.
It's not realistic.
Yeah, that's
It's floaty. It's like if you're gonna let me look around, you need to stabilize the camera to some degree. Or there just needs to be like like I said, it needs to have some sort of AI assistance built in to where if I turn to the left, it just turns the camera to the left, right? Unless I'm literally looking straight down, like don't pan the camera down. Don't do all these little micro changes. Like, oh my god, that's too much for me.
I'm digging into it, and it looks like they changed their model to free to play, and I guess you can download it on PlayStation. So
Okay.
okay. So this is a
I'll
failure. He's right.
Yeah,
I'll try it and report back next week.
Yeah.
Let you know. I'll do some research.
Yeah, tell me if you get sick playing it.
Right? Yeah, I'll let you know.
Well, okay, so here's the thing, right? If it's an MMO, in order to it to succeed as an MMO, I have to put this headset on and then forget the world exists and let a baby die in the room. That's the only metric you can have for a successful MMO. Is it needs to take over people's lives. MMOs don't do that anymore.
Yeah. Right.
I think they do though.
They do. I mean, to some
But
people, right?
but
But
like
on
in a
on
like
the mass scale, they don't anymore.
there's still some of people still playing WoW, but they're clicking aimlessly. That's the crack house, example. I was like, they're just like, what are they doing? Like
But they're not even really playing WoW anymore. Like that's the
they're
scary
not.
thing.
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
just they're on there clicking, and they're like
Yeah.
just
Where they're just
they're
getting
getting this
the
some
dopamine hit.
feeling, some the
Yeah.
hit. Yeah, but
Well, a lot of it I can relate. Being playing 14. I mean, you're just so heavily invested at this point. It's like you just gotta.
that's 14's a good example where the game's basically been created where you can beat it by yourself,
Right.
right? They
Yeah.
did
So
that.
yeah,
You know,
it's
so it's like
essentially just a
Oh,
tell me what
subscription model.
MMORPG like what does that stand for? Like massively
mass.
multiplayer RPG, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Not I can
massively
play it by
multiplayer,
myself.
Right.
massively
It's the choice
multiplayer
to have somebody
online.
to.
Yeah.
Yeah, online RPG. The social aspect, from what I've seen, has disappeared.
It
Right.
has.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
It's not. Maybe forced isn't the right word. It's not. There's more choice now where it's like you're not relegated to like, okay, I have to complete this with you know
No, I
4
get it. It's
8
like I
people.
got off work, I have 2 hours to play. Give me the
Yeah.
5 AI characters and my guy, so I can go get it done. And I
Right.
get that. Like,
Yeah.
but that
For sake of
takes
yeah.
you get something, you take away something. You don't just
Right.
mhm.
you always lose something.
Yeah. For convenience, you trade. Yeah.
I mean, It's come to a lot of things though, but it's also that companies have changed how replayability is, right? It's retention rates. You didn't need retention rates in World of Warcraft. People were just retained. Now they're trying to do targeted retention, so they do targeted strategies that infect gameplay, and that affect of gameplay being destroyed is what pushes people away, and it actually hurts their retention in the long run. So
Like,
yeah,
what's your guys' favorite MMO moment? It's probably not a specific quest. It's probably doing something with somebody on a certain day, right?
Right. Yeah, no, I mean, I don't think we'll ever go back to the point of like original EverQuest just being able to like jump into the world and run into people and and
So that's an yeah. Adam
be
told
able
me
to hit it
crazy
off.
stories
Yeah,
about EverQuest. Yeah.
yeah,
yeah, because it was like kind of the whole
it's the
AOL
Wild
chat
West.
room
Yeah,
phenomena. Yeah, like but actually being able to like have a tangible you know character that you can see and interact with and chat with directly and not just some
this is
random
why
person.
the original WoW and the original EverQuest worked. Your character was important, and it made you feel a level of importance.
Right. And there was that mystery, of
And it
like,
brought him to life. Yeah, and a little bit of
yeah,
mystery.
I-
You could pretend to be a girl and get some people to give you some free guild.
yeah, that I mean, there's always extremes, but no, it was just cool to just kind of be able to, find other like-minded um, people that maybe, that you could, group up with and adventure with.
Yeah, and raiding was always fun because it's a
Yeah.
challenge. And then, for my aspect, I was the raid leader for pretty much every single guild we ever had. So strategy, like, I'm playing chess. Like I'm over here telling people how to move, like
Hmm.
coming up with these. It's just there's so many things
Yeah,
that go
being a
into
team
it.
leader. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
All right, we
Yeah,
got one.
dealing with personalities and things like that. And
Oh yeah, I mean that was the thing. It just it was like
how to adapt.
window washing with like into people's personal lives.
Right.
The stuff that happens in WoW back in the day and like EverQuest was like it was crazy. Like it was the Wild West for
A
sure.
little bit of
Mhm.
therapy, yeah.
Yeah, for some people,
Yeah, and then trying to get everybody to work together. You know.
it was the first time like I ever like why would I ever have played with a 72-year-old woman in a video game? Because she was in
Hmm.
my guild in WoW as a healer. And we loved Ginny. Like Ginny was our main like she was everyone's grandma. Like it was awesome. It was just like it
Hmm.
was such a communal thing too. Like and there were so many people that like just didn't
Yeah,
have
and
social
games like
lives.
that kind of reached. Yeah, and the age demographic was so huge with a game like that. It wasn't just um, maybe like aged people. It was they run the gamut. Just people wanting to um, try the whatever this new avenue of gaming was.
Yeah, and some of my favorite moments in that, it's not just like it was me playing with a bunch of strange people. It was me, Chris, Tim, Sean, Chuck, all in my house
Yeah.
landing. Like we had computers. We had Sean set up on a TV tray and he was sitting on like a cardboard box or something, like just so he could be in the same room to
A
play. It was
bucket,
like,
yeah, a bucket or something.
yeah, it
Yeah.
was something like
But
really,
yeah.
yeah, because we just didn't have any space anymore, right? And like it's just like
Yeah.
things like that. Like you don't get to experience that anymore.
Hmm.
Now it's just everyone's like,
Yeah, like yeah. No, yeah, it's something that's not it's just not going to be recreated.
or if it did, it'd have to be on a scale of like a VR thing where it just brings a new connotation to it, or it brings a new depth to
That's what I mean. Like
yeah.
we need the it's the EverQuest moment because the Ultima Online wasn't the moment, right? That wasn't like the EverQuest was
It
the
opened the
explosion, right?
door. Ultima Line was just really hard. It was not accessible to a general audience. EverQuest was a little bit more accessible. It was still really like niche, and then it grew up, and then WoW was just accessible to everybody, which is why it was such a huge success because literally a 72-year-old woman could pick it up to play with her grandson and then just become one of the best healers in the game. So it's like you wouldn't have had that aspect in any other way.
Hmm.
All right, so then we're gonna go to the final story before we cut it in. If he's teasing us, I'm gonna lose my mind.
Oh my god.
Kitase has come out and directly asked fans what do they want in a remake of Chrono Trigger. We do not know how this is
Wow.
going to exist. If it's just going to be like a recreation of the SNES game through a ROM, if he's going to do a 3-dimensional one, which would be insane. Um, but this dumbass came out and said it, so it's he. And the thing was, it was on a podcast, and it may have been just like him joking around, but he's
What was
like
it? I missed. We want to remake in what?
Chrono Trigger.
Oh, geez. Did he really
Yeah.
say that?
Yoshinori Kitase was doing a podcast. It's called My Perfect Console. And they were talking about how the industry is all about a remake fever, and everyone's just looking to go back to old IPs. And
The
so
member berries.
Yeah, I feel like you guys have to say yes to this because you're so you like Rebirth so much.
yeah. And then so he was just, I don't know if he was just kind of lost in thought, and so he was just like talking as he was thinking, but he says, I don't know. If players are to play this game today, what would be the most favorable way in which it is presented? Would it be something that is just directly as in form, or something that is on a modern platform or console? Is this something where the graphics are just remastered, or would you like a full-on Final Fantasy VII remake where the
Ugh.
game design and visuals are completely
Well, this is
revamped and
this is
updated?
Tim's favorite game, so let's see
Yeah.
what he says.
Uh,
There's the answer. There it is. Period.
I
Ugh.
know. It's like it's like wanting a sequel to Princess Bride. It's like you just can't. You gotta just leave it. You gotta leave it in a glass
See,
jar and
see, this
just.
one is.
This would be
I
weird
want to say
in
it's. I
3D.
want to say it's even harder, but it's not that many years away from seven. They're both old games. It's
Yeah.
actually
Right.
1995, right?
Yeah,
And
they're
seven
Yeah.
97.
yeah, I think so.
So it's not like it's too far away,
Yeah.
but uh, it'd be even harder to get all the people that worked on this together. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah. Because Nobu already said he's not gonna do he's not gonna score
he didn't
It's
do
a
this.
new.
yeah.
Yeah.
Mitsuda did the soundtrack for this, so he's
This
still
is
around.
this was
Right.
one of the last ones with Masuda, if I'm not mistaken, right?
First, no,
Yeah.
this is his first.
Or was this
It
his
was one of
first
his
one?
first. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay. I was thinking about the other guy. Why can't I think of his name right
and then Yuji Ori worked on this. The
now?
guy,
Yeah.
the creator of Dragon Quest. He's still
Yeah.
alive, but I don't know if he would come back for this.
Why wouldn't he?
I know.
Uh,
Yes. It's
I don't
it's
know. I'm
getting
just saying.
everybody
Like
back to the table.
Toriyama, he's
Um.
still alive. He would come back. He's what is he
Yeah, he
doing, right?
would. Yeah. Yeah. He's crazy. He would.
Essentially, fans are basically saying this is 100% a thing now, and then other people are just saying, he's just sort of like in that mindset or space where he's actually actively trying to think of ways to bring this into a remake
Well,
adaptation.
here's my theory. You remember you guys know what Octopath Traveler is, and they remade Live Alive, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Which
Yeah.
was a game that no one knew about. And that to me, they're perfecting the craft to use the HD 2D in a game like this. I don't know if it's specifically this, but they pick these they pick these games that no one gives a shit about to perfect the craft, and then we're gonna get
Well, they did it with
uh,
Secret of
a,
Mana too.
if they've done it with a couple games, yeah.
Yeah.
And so we're gonna get some game of the past like that, and it might be this one.
Yeah, I mean, there are people that are saying that this is secretly being worked on inside of Square Studios right now. Like, you couldn't tell them otherwise. They're just 100% all for this game is already going on, and then this is just him trying to like throw shade, like, oh well, maybe one day we'll do.
Didn't they already say that about nine? Isn't nine getting a?
Yeah, they did. They said nine is being remade.
Yeah,
You heard about that, right?
it's being remade in Epic though, or not in Epic, in what's that one?
in the engine that
I think it's in
Square developed?
Frost.
The
No, I think it's in Frosters. It's in a different engine though. It's because some fans ported like the first disc into the new engine, and then they showed it, and they actually did voice acting for it, and so Square saw it and made them take it down, and then now they're gonna do it. God, if they did this 3D, this would be a game that they'd have to do in multiple, wouldn't it? All the different timelines. This would just
It seems like an even bigger project than 7.
to me it does, because the story in this is so convoluted and it can be experienced in such a weird way that he would have to rewrite portions of it so that it would be like,
Would you want him to bring Nomura for?
no, let's not add more to Nomura's plate. Let's just let him work on Final Fantasy. Let Katase
Yeah.
work on this. Let somebody figure out that Mother should get remade. Oh yeah, actually there was Mother news too. We're officially,
there?
yeah, we're officially getting a Mother 3 translation and port to America.
No, I didn't see that.
Yeah,
Bring that up.
Yeah, there was a mention of Mother 3, I think. Yeah, Mother 3 confirmed for Nintendo Switch Online, but
yeah.
only in Japan.
Oh, is it only in Japan?
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you
Yeah.
go.
I thought I
But
read that it was getting a translation and coming to America too.
Maybe.
Or maybe that's what this is the first step. Now it'll get,
Yeah, yeah. Next month or something, we'll get something.
yeah. But anytime you get news about Mother, it's surprising in my opinion.
Oh yeah.
Mother remake.
I would take that. The first one. That
Yeah,
one's could use a remake.
and that's
yeah.
not with Ness, right? That's the other kid, the blonde-haired kid.
No, it's with the first one is with Ninten. That was his
Nintendo.
name. Then Ness, and then Lucas.
Lucas, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. But would I want a Chrono Trigger remake? No.
Wow.
Yeah. Just leave it.
Okay.
Leave it how it is.
Why were you
Yeah.
okay with 7 then being touched?
Um, I don't know, maybe just because of the art, the kind of blocky style could have used or warranted an upgrade, like
Okay, the
a
sprites have aged
reimagining.
better.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, the sprites, yeah, it didn't really age well from the PlayStation to. But yeah, I think the Super NES sprites have kind of stood the test of time.
Yeah, it's sad to say that. I think that's definitely a part of it, but more importantly, um, for me at least, the difference between this is he wanted to tell a new story, which I was down for.
Hmm.
How do you
Or
tell? How do
make it an anime, like make it a cartoon or something.
they did? I thought, did they? I thought.
No,
No.
Or no,
they just
No.
injected,
maybe that was Dragon Breath, wasn't it?
How did they tell a new story? How do you not with time travel? Do whatever you want. Like, what are you
Well, I
talking
know that,
about?
and
Like,
that's the thing.
I think it's different because trying to tell a new story with this would be
Just do one giant anime that ties all the loose ends between Cross and
yeah.
Trigger and release it as one
oh
giant thing,
god, yeah.
or like an episode, because that's what they tried to do with the re-release of Chrono Trigger on the DS and with this re-release remaster of Chrono Cross on PlayStation. Is they want to try to tie the two together now because
Oh,
everybody's
did they
like, oh,
really? Okay.
yeah, yeah. So they added shit to it to try to make it seem like that they're related.
Yeah, I'm
Um,
surprised on your guys' thoughts on this because to me this is
yeah.
exactly the same as 7.
Well, no, my thing is remake it.
Oh, you do want it? Okay,
Yeah,
yeah.
I know, I do. I'm
Yeah.
just saying it would be hard. So no, I want this to be remastered with higher
Right.
fidelity
Yeah. Remastered.
sprites,
Yeah.
but still in the same vein or same era. Um,
But
I
do it as a show. I'd much rather it be a show.
yeah.
Just leave it as, and they can go on little spin-offs or a couple of episodes filler of like the events that happened between Trigger and Cross. And
How about an
Be like, oh,
episodic mobile game?
Ugh.
yeah, exactly. Oh
No,
shit!
no.
No, then here comes the monetization. Yeah,
Yeah.
I know, but that's how you make more money. You're not making any
I
money on
know.
a show. Nobody's doing
I know.
shows to
Yeah,
make money.
Yeah.
I'm a bad person to pitch this.
Yeah.
You're not making us any money. I don't see where the money comes into this equation.
You
These are
don't.
all,
This is
well,
one.
yeah,
This is one of your heavy hitters. You don't just make a show of it. This is you.
right. Yeah,
You
yeah,
squeeze these lemons dry.
yeah. You mean well, but I don't see the money aspect.
Yeah,
I
I
wouldn't be
mean,
surprised. I'm telling you now. Before 2030, we see an all-time classic get remastered in Octopath style, and I just don't know which one it is. It might be Final Fantasy VI. It might be this, but it's gonna be some heavy hitter.
Yeah, no, and people, there is a big market with retro and indie, so I think it would sell. It's just who's gonna take that plunge.
this is how you sell VR. I've been thinking about that. You need a Pokemon game. You need Pokemon in VR, and it'll sell the system.
Well, what Pokemon announced? What Pokemon Legends?
But is it VR? Is it full VR
Uh,
where I get to pet a freaking Pikachu?
No, no.
Then no, yeah,
it was Pokemon Legends Z to A. That's right.
yeah,
Yeah, VR most likely not.
No, I think you maybe you're right because with that, all you just need to do is to be able to throw a Pokeball. Like the hard thing with Sword Art is to get the combat right, right? With
yeah. That
Pokemon, it's an
well,
easier transition.
because I'm standing there watching a Pokemon battle, and I get to like make commands, right?
Hmm.
Hmm.
Or I'm running around the world and I'm catching Pokemon. That's different. MMO or Sword Art, dude, that's combat. That's high octane action, right? That's dodging. Like
Hmm.
that's a totally different scale or a totally different aspects of it. So it's like it's a harder thing to do. But if you baby step people in, I think I think that'd be a good way to do it.
Yeah, I mean the most incredible thing I've seen is that body cam thing you showed us. I'd never seen anything like that.
Yeah,
That was pretty impressive.
but even his head movement was so good in that, right? It was smooth. It felt like it was high fidelity, but that's because it's at like 120 or 240 frames or something like that. And then it just felt and it looked better. It wasn't like it looks like I have some sort of debilitating disease, right? Like
Mhm.
I just know that would make me sick. Like and then
The shakiness, yeah,
the few VR games I've played that have had stuff like that, I can't play them for very
yeah.
long.
Skyrim VR was bad for me, but Resident Evil 7 VR wasn't bad.
And I've heard good things about Half-Life Alex. That was a really good.
Yeah, that one I haven't played, but yeah.
I think even I think
It's
it's
gone it's gone slower than I thought, the whole VR process. You know, I
right.
thought in 2024 it would be different.
Yeah, nobody's really jumped. Yeah, no big developers jumped really into it at first.
Yeah, someone has to, but it hasn't happened yet.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Nobody's. A lot of people are. They're still. I know when mobile was the thing that they were gonna all jump into, and that still feels like they're stuck in that space.
Someone will do it. It'll be successful. Other people will emulate it. But until then, it's just until that one person figures it out.
Yep. Some indie. Yeah. We need more indie revolution type games to make a splash, just to show that you don't need to be a big developer with all these
Yeah,
quote unquote accolades. Yeah. You can still make a cohesive game that everybody's gonna want to play. That's why, like we were saying, who's going to be the company that releases a retro style
EverQuest
one.
wasn't a massive developer, right, at the time?
yeah.
That was small, right?
Yeah, it was what
I think it was pretty small. I think it was like 200 people, maybe even
yeah, what
less.
SOE, right?
Yeah, originally it was SOE. Yeah, Sony Online Entertainment.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
All right, I gotta go to bed. I gotta let Beth go to bed. We had a long day. But I appreciate you. Let that thought ruminate with you for a little bit. See if tomorrow it doesn't just hit you a little bit harder.
See if I change my mind.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, we'll see.
Or let's see if any other people start talking about it if it becomes a big thing, or if I'm
Yeah.
just crazy. Who knows?
Yeah, it makes the rounds. I'm sure it will.
Yeah. I mean, it's going viral on Twitter, so I'm sure soon people are gonna be talking about it all over the place.
Well, then people will probably create like a tech demo or like a teaser
Yeah.
trailer in their own thing. Yeah, to
Exactly.
kind of spark more hype. Yeah. So
All right, but you guys have a great night. Thanks for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed. Next week we will do. I mean, I'll definitely have it beat by then. Uh, maybe Tim will be a little bit more into it. And we can go into the full review of Rebirth. Because at this point, it might just be my favorite game, but that might change in the next 20 hours, according to Chris.
yeah.
Find out.
Well, yeah. Let's see. Is that gonna stay the same throughout? We'll see.
Yeah. But
No,
thanks.
it's unreviewable because it's not done.
It's
You know,
TBD. It's TBD.
TBD.
yeah, yeah.
Well, not too
Which is
DVD.
fine because
Yeah.
it's a multiple part game. But I'm
Yeah.
just
We'll see.
Yeah. At least we know there's gonna be a sequel. It's not like a cliffhanger.
Yeah. All right. But drop a like, subscribe. Most importantly, do something kind for somebody else.